Hello, and welcome back to the RaceRoom GT Masters Esports Championship, more specifically to the Shootout. It is a bumper edition broadcast to bring us into a very unique Season 2. Two races coming up for you today, the first of which is at the Motorsports Arena, Oschersleben, the second of which is at the Red Bull Ring. Plenty of great times, great racing ahead, but we should really get into the nitty-gritty to tell you a little bit more about why everything has changed so much and what has changed in the first place. I'm James Kirk. With me, as he always seems to be, is Mr. Robert Wiesenmüller. Rob, it's great to be back. Let's get into that nitty-gritty. Why, what, and where?
Hello everyone, hello James. Yes, that's right, the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship is back. We're here with the Shootout this time. And this season is a little bit different compared to last season, because we have actually 4 live events coming up. So it's not only online races as we know, but these events will actually take place in the paddock of the ADAC GT Masters. So if you are a fan of the GT Masters, you can just go there and check it out and watch these sim racers competing on their simulators there in the paddock. We also go to the Sim Racing Expo, a big event in Germany. It's all about sim racing, where they've built up a big stage. We'll do one race, and only today for the online shootout, we're actually driving online as we know it from the past seasons.
It is a fascinating format, isn't it? And before there's any controversy, this is Season 2, so this is for Guts for Glory, as you probably saw in the intro video as well, or if you, for the benefit of those who've just missed it, a €5,000 prize pool, or well, what's worth €5,000 anyway. It is a big prize, and as such, as there usually is with any sort of RaceRoom racing experience competition, we have some very good caliber of drivers coming into the fray. No least, of course, one of our joint reigning champions, Florian Hasse. He's going to be driving here today, along with other names you might recognize, the likes of Tim Heinemann, the likes of Andre Santos. We'll have a look into those driver profiles later on during the broadcast, but as for our schedule, here it is. As I mentioned already, we're going to start with the Oschersleben qualifying 40-minute race. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, it's going to be the same thing all over again, but at one of my personal favorite tracks, the Red Bull Ring. It's 2 tracks which are fascinating, Rob. We started actually Season 1 with Oschersleben this year, or rather this season. It's the same year, of course. We return there for the first round. Slightly different variation, though, isn't it? We use the sharp left-hander for the first corner in Season 1. This year, we're going back to the classic.
Yes, exactly. And this first corner led to a lot of controversy in real racing. John Cleland famously once said the guy who designed the corner should be beaten up and put in a dark room. So we haven't actually done that. We just reverted to the normal track configuration that they used back in the early 2000s and that the GT Masters used in their real series this year as well. It was not available on RaceRoom when we started last season, but for this season it is available. As we're watching Florian Hasse now, he's just coming to the final corner here. This is the penultimate one. This one here is the final. Maybe we can just see it on board with him, see what's different.
And so we'll get into the cars as well. I know there's some big, RaceRoom nerds out there who will be very up to date on the balance of power. We'll touch on that in a little bit. But here's the first main reason why times are not going to be relevant from last year. That the corner is a much shallower angle, and so it's going to be a lot faster through there. Turns 1 and turns 2, Hotel, into the hairpin at Hasselrode. It actually turned out to be quite a prolific overtaking spot in Season 1. We certainly hope it'll be providing the same amount of action once again. Then into the triple. It's pretty much as it says on the tin, a triple left-hander before we head into this second, or rather third, elongated corner, a right-hander before we head up towards the McDonald's chicane section. Through we go to the back of the circuit now. Need a good exit through here as we head on to the second longest straight on circuit. And you need to get your slipstreaming done pretty early, actually, because it's then into the Shell curver and the Almond curver. Again, plenty of moves in Season 1 through here. Then into the Bauer curver and the Zeppelin curve to round out the lap. It's a much faster circuit, I think, even by value of just changing the first corner, Rob. And Hasse getting it horribly wrong there on the exit of the Zeppelin curve, but a much faster circuit. And obviously the big change there at turn 1, we did see moves into there last season. I think that opportunity is actually going to be removed from the drivers simply by how shallow and how quick the corner now is.
Yeah, you need to be extremely brave to make a move there in this corner. But we also saw last year that in the first corner, the moves weren't really the cleanest. Probably saw better moves here in the corner where even Murphy is coming up to now. This right-hander. Under the bridge. Especially the Mercedeses were passing last year already. And we have a lot more Mercedeses on the grid. Although, not as many Mercedeses as in our last RaceRoom event. Let's have a look here at the entry list.
A lot of names that you might recognize, and not just the top of the table names either. You've got the likes of Pinches, who is midfield, Fromont, Weiss, Vella, Stanger, of course, who is quite prolific over in the EWTCR, and Richard Schaefer returns to RaceRoom. Great to see him there. Benedek, Nage, Courtois. A lot of names that you might recognize. Some debutants as well, though, Rob.
Yes, we've got some debutants to the GT Masters Championship. First of all, that's someone like Jan Stange as well, or Richard Schaefer, who haven't raced in this particular championship, but who have a lot of experience on RaceRoom racing experience. And then also some interesting complete debutants. For example, Robin Zieren, he qualified in P24. He actually comes from rally games, he comes from Dirt Rally. So it will be very interesting to see how he will perform here in the GT Masters Esports Championship.
Joke if he goes off track about doing some lawn mowing and not losing his rally routes is lining itself up. I can feel it. Let's touch upon the cars then, Rob, because of course the BOP balance of power, for those who aren't too up to date in your acronyms, it was a big talking point in season 1. It was a really big talking point, so much so that we saw a mid-season update to the cars, which really did change the game, actually, both metaphorically and literally, of course. There has been further updates, and even for the case of this event, Rob, there have been some specific elements added to make sure that these cars are as equal as possible. You talked about it before, the Mercedes has become a very popular car, and so we're not trying to punish them for enjoying a certain car necessarily, but there has been measures taken to bring it back in to balance with the rest of the field.
Yes, of course. Last season we had a lot of Corvettes and we had a lot of Porsches. Basically in every race there was like 25 cars from them. So that was addressed in the final race at Hockenheim, which was probably the best race of last season, where we had awesome battles between the manufacturers as well. Kind of turned out that the Mercedes got a little bit too good, so what we did now for this event is we gave it a ballast weight of 45 kilos, so it's a little bit heavier than the other cars, but it's still a popular choice. Most cars on the grid are Mercedes, but there are also quite a lot of Audis on the grid, which runs 10 kilos of weight. The Audi was also improved. We saw, of course, at the Tuning World Bodensee, where Florian Hasse and Julian Kunze won the event in an Audi, that the Audi is very competitive indeed. We shouldn't, of course, forget about the Corvette. We just saw it already. Now they're all in the pits. Can't show it to you now. Also lots of Corvettes, lots of fast drivers in the Corvettes, with Romain, with Hasse and with Santos. And also we've got one Porsche on the grid, which has a new sound. So let's just go on board here, Vinny Oliveira, for a moment. And enjoy the new sound.
It's quite interesting to see how little Porsches there are now. Then again, not many of the Porsche runners from last season are here this season. Of course, it was only really Lucas Baron who was running the Audi in season 1, so it's great to see more of them. The Corvette, it won here at the Oschersleben last season. It won at the Red Bull Ring last season, and so it's got good pedigree on both of these tracks. Will it win today? We're going to find out. It was Ben Spunky who took the first win of the season at Oschersleben in season 1. But one of the men who is here today took the win in season 1 at the Red Bull Ring, and that man is Andre Santos, one of the favourites most certainly. Not out on track at the moment, but we look forward to see what he can do. Certainly, that was the only event he competed in as well last season, Rob, was the Red Bull Ring. He came in, he took his win, and that was his lot.
Yes, and that was one of the most dominant performances of a team in the whole season, because Euronics Gaming locked out the top 4 in this event. So
Nice.
that was a super impressive performance. Yeah, 1 race, 1 win. And we're driving Red Bull Ring again, which has a new track surface, by the way, so we might see a little bit different times later on. Actually, the Red Bull Ring race will be directly after the Oschersleben race. Of course, they will still have a practice session, have a qualifying session, but yeah, just stay on the channel here. After the race, there will be another one coming up.
You'll probably have enough time to make yourself like a cup of tea or grab some snacks or something, but you do want to be back here because Red Bull Ring always provides, as I say, it's one of my personal favourite tracks. When it comes to the European scene, we are about 3 minutes away from our qualifying session here at the Oschersleben, at least.
And
Do we have any other favourites, Rob? Do we think that there's anybody who's going to run away with this based at least on pre-qualifying times?
well, the fastest driver in pre-qualifying was Jack Keithley. Pre-qualifying actually was run at Zandvoort though, so Keithley is not here. The fastest driver who is here today was Tim Heinemann. Good old Tim, famous on RaceRoom, for all the right and all the wrong reasons, some people might say. And he's super quick. He races in the GT4 Championship in real life, so he's actually at all these GT Masters events anyway, so it's pretty much the perfect championship for him to come up. And of course he's in a Mercedes, drives a Mercedes AMG GT4 in real life. Yeah, only 11th at the moment, but certainly one of the favorites. Then of course Santos, Hasse, Löhner as well, Romand. But yeah, what's quite interesting, for example, this guy here, Martin Petermann, currently in P6 in the practice session. We did not necessarily expect that from the Zero Force Racing driver, who races a lot in German community races, at virtual racing. Yeah, pretty impressive debut for him in the GT Masters Esports Championship.
Not a single Mercedes in the top 5 as we speak. They may be sandbagging. Who knows? They're going to find out going into qualifying. And with just under 2 minutes left, I think all that leaves us to do, really, is to further explain and clarify going forward. Like, what is the point in the shootout event, Rob? How many people are going forward with positive vibes? Because there's limited spots at the end of this, and we're effectively forming a mini championship within the season itself here, aren't we?
Yes, exactly. So the point of the shootout basically is, as we see Alexandre Romand spinning off there, the point of this shootout is that you can qualify for the full season at the LAN events. So if you finish in the top 8 here at the shootout, not in the top 8 of one of the races, but in the top 8 overall, we will have a point system which is exactly the same as the real GT Masters point system. You will get a spot for all of these live events, so you don't have to qualify individually for the live events, but you have your place on the grid secure.
And that, I mean, I was going to say, that does extend out to the GT Masters Championship will get you out there to compete at all of these events.
Yeah, of course, you will win a little bit of money so you can pay your traveling. You will get a hotel room for one night. So also drivers from other countries can participate. Not sure how all these Brazilians are going to get to the LAN events, but at least for the Europeans that should be possible. And yeah, it's a pretty big prize at stake. You can of course qualify for each event individually as well. And there are only 4 spots available though. So 8 spots here for the permanent season, then 4 additional spots for each event. You can head over to game.raceroom.com/competitions if you want to try it out yourself. Maybe find a place on the grid for one of these races at the GT Masters or at the Sim Racing Expo.
Very exciting, and it does mean that even if you don't do so well in race 1, you can bounce back in race number 2. And for those not too familiar with the GT Masters points structure, it's 25 points for a win, and points actually go all the way down to 15th, where you will find the 1-point scorers. So as long as you finish in the top half of the field, you're going to be scoring. Into qualifying then, and it is 15 minutes on the clock. It is RaceRoom standard qualifying, so what that means is once that timer hits 0, that's qualifying over. You don't get to finish the lap that you're on. You've got to time it to the timer, and you can see a lot of drivers making their way out immediately. They don't want to waste any time whatsoever.
Yes, and I never understood that, because you have 15 minutes, you can just wait and then you have a clear track, but that's not the race's mentality, I think. They want to get out as fast as possible, as we have one of the Mercedeses in front, one of the yellow Mercedeses. Unfortunately, that's the car that we have the most of, so let's see if we can find him. There we go. That was pretty quick. First one I tried. Balint Benedek from B4TQ Gaming, the Hungarian. Raced quite a few RaceRoom competitions already. He was actually at the final at Tuning World Bodensee as well. He's the first one out on track.
And he was P8 by the end of the practice session. The top Mercedes, unsurprisingly, I would say, was Tim Heinemann, but unable to get inside the top 5, Rob. And I feel like with this weight ballast that has been imposed upon the Mercedes, we're expecting it to do a lot better at the Red Bull Ring than here, where there is a lot more focus on cornering speeds.
Yeah, I think this is the track where it matters, especially for the Audis, because they will have a disadvantage at the Red Bull Ring. They don't have enough top speed compared to the Mercedes and the Corvettes especially as well. And you can see a lot of oversteer in the Mercedes. That's one of the main characteristics of the car. It's pretty quick, but it's not so easy to drive as it may seem, especially when you spin off and when you hit the wall, you lose the front bumper very quickly, so you can pick up some damage early on. 30.4 in the first sector. I think we have to expect 29s here if you want to go to pole position. Benedek probably trying to get a banker lap in.
Just for the comparison, by the way, Moritz Lerner was the man who topped the practice session, and that was in an Audi as well. And going a little bit faster than this, certainly. It's a so-so first sector, as Rob has just mentioned. But ultimately, you do want to get that banker lap in. If you finish inside the top 15, you score points, heavily clouting the curbs as well. We say he's trying to do a banker lap, Rob. It looks like he's really attacking this second half of the section.
Yeah, you can put your car on the roof there pretty easily when you hit the curb like this, so at least Benedek still going on his lap. I think it won't be such a fast time. 23.3. Let's see what that means in the end. 22.4 for Santos. Let's see Lerner, purple in second sector. 22.0. There we go. Audi on provisional pole.
Will we see a 21? I think so. I think that's very possible. The time's starting to fly in now. Here's Tim Heinemann, the top Mercedes from the practice session. He was P6. He is behind another Mercedes, though, going to be picking up dirty air. The Mercedes pulls to the inside, pulls back out, just going to start another lap. And Tim Heinemann coming around the final corner. The real-life GT4 driver, as he is now, slots into P5, but 7/10 off pole position, Rob. That is not something that we get to say every day.
Florian Haas into third, and in fourth place we have another Audi. We've got Eamon Murphy, the Irishman. The distinct pink Audi just gets beaten by Pinches, who's now the fastest Mercedes.
It's good to see Pinches back near the top, of course. Was a little bit hampered. He is Dolwart, ACR, Zach Speed material, and he stuck to that Mercedes because that's what the Zach Speed team runs in real life. He got a couple of points finishes, didn't he? But I think out of anybody, he is going to be breathing a sigh of relief that his car is finally fully competitive, in contrast to the rest of the field.
Yes, and you also found a new virtual team, new sim racing team here, Williams Gym Esports. So
yeah.
Pretty much the second Williams team. Of course, Moritz Lerner in the first one. And yeah, good to see him here in his team. And there's Martin Petermann, also in the Audi, up to P8.
It's interesting, actually. I mean, again, he was Dolwart, ACR, Zach Speed. To see him, of all people, move to Williams, and especially with Jack Keithley. I mean, Jack Keithley, of course, was another high-profile mover to Williams Esports as well. He went through Oscaro from ACR, Zach Speed, I realise, but are we seeing a slight recluse of a team that has been a big part of the e-racing scene from day one, really? We'll wait and observe with that one. I'm just curious from a team side of things, because it's always interesting to see the roster moves in the off-season. Klaus Schulze, one of the oldest men on the grid, goes into P13. Great to see him heading up into the middle of the pack. But with just over halfway of the session to go, it is Lerner in the Audi on provisional pole. Santos, Vermont, Hassa, and Pinches rounding out the top five. Here comes Santos, comes out to the slipstream, actually. Romont was just ahead of him, and Santos doesn't see an improvement on his time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Klaus Schulze is really one of the oldest men on the grid. I think he's 29. So,
I mean, esports is a young game.
we still have, of course, Karel Vega competing here. It's always a cool story to see Karel only in P28, but he's already 50 years old and he's still, you know, mixing it with all these young drivers here, ensuring he has no problems whatsoever to get into these races here. Qualified easily in P18, I think, in pre-qualifying. So nice to see him here once again. Also part of a new team, ET3 Racing Esports.
He's in Dirk Nuts territory, isn't he? But it's, I mean, honestly, it's one of the things which I it's kind of like one of my cliche phrases now, isn't it? One of the things I love about sim racing and e-racing. But in a lot of esports, you tend to find that plateau of about 25 to 28 years old. And it's because the brain functions really start to slow down, as that is a Siren? Oh no, it's a faster lap, I think, from there. No, or is it Siren?
I think Schulze jumped into P9 here. That was the guy we saw moving up, but also Florian Hasse now into P2, very close to Moritz Löhner.
Yeah, so Hasse, of course, our reigning joint champion, the guy that he became joint champions with Julian Kunze, not here today, sadly, but great to see Florian showing some pace. But going back to that point that I was previously making, 25, 28-year-olds, most esports, that's where you seem to plateau and start to degrade, honestly. You need really quick responses, but for some reason, in e-racing, it's so similar to real-life racing that the parallels are there for everyone to see, and you do get 40, 50-year-old drivers taking part in high-profile championships, such as in endurance racing, for example, and their experience is a huge beneficiary, and they're still able to pull out some great times. So it's great to see some of these older guys here. Of course, Klaus Schulze.
Oh, and he messed it up there. He was on a superb lap.
I was about to top phrases, yeah. About to wax lyrical about him, but a shame there. Hopefully he can get another good lap in. Here comes Eamon Murphy then. Was in the top 5, fallen to 7th, up to P3. Do we have a new star in our midst? Potentially, he's mixing up with big names.
Yeah, he's part of the Lazarus team, big esports organization that's competing more on, you know, conventional esports titles. Now they've founded a racing team. They've signed Eamon Murphy, who we haven't really seen so much of on RaceRoom. Great performance here, but Andre Santos, there we go, P2 in the Corvette at Oschersleben.
But still, Rob, no one able to touch that original provisional pole position time of a 122.194. Lerner got his lap in, and it was a very good one indeed. Can this man, Tim Heinemann, find any more speed in the tank? Currently outside the top 10 as things stand.
Yeah, there we have Tim Heinemann on your screen. Real racing driver, but also very successful sim racer. Won the DTM Winter Cup and the Virtual Championship back in the day. Won twice in Mercedes AMG e-racing competition. And just this year he won the 3 Motion Challenge at the Tuning World Bodensee. So highly competitive driver and very uncharacteristic to see him only in P11 at the moment.
And you touched upon it before, what a controversial figure he is as well. His speed, and when he wants to race cleanly, his racing skills, undoubted, but he has had those few moments of madness in his career which still plague him. I honestly think actually in the last year he has improved immensely, and I hope to see that upward trajectory, especially as he is now racing in real life conditions in the GT4 Championship.
Yeah, I think this has really helped him, that he's driving in real racing now. We've seen a lot of tactical drives from him in the 3 Motion Challenge, and that was what he always lacked a little bit in the past. And now he's really proven his maturity in this championship, that he very deservedly won. And here we go up to P5.
Great lap, really good lap. A car which shouldn't be at its best here. Jan Stanger. Now we know him from the touring car scene, and going a little bit wide here. Oh, and into the wall as well. P11 for him. A fair debut, Rob. I mean, Jan's never been one to take the bull by the horns necessarily. He's not the fastest out there. He tends to get his results through consistency.
Yeah, he won 2 races in the last Esports WTCR season. both of these races on the reverse grid because that's where he's strong. He's good at overtaking people, he's good at staying, you know, consistent throughout the race, also driving a tactical race, and tactics is a very good point because we will have a mandatory pit stop here, and because the race is only 40 minutes, it will be interesting to see if the drivers will change 2 tires or 4 tires, and especially when they will take their pit stop. And this is where I expect Jan Stange to have some sort of strategy already laid out in order to move up on the grid, because 11th, of course, in the Audi here, that's not going to be good enough.
And honestly, those pit stop strategies were a big talking point last year. If you are thinking, was it 40 minutes last year as well? No, it was an hour race last year, and that was honestly one of the greatest things about the Oschersleben round, was we had a load of people going with 2 tyre stops. It was the Porsche contingent at Williams, if I recall correctly. And you had Ben Spunky, who changed all 4 tyres with the Corvette, and he ended up winning the race by value of better tyre life with a smaller race, Rob. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more leaning towards the 2 tyre stop strategy, simply because there's less race distance to traverse.
Yes, that's true, but you have to think about it, that it will change the balance of your car when you change only 2 tires. So maybe it's smarter to do the pit stop early, but then of course you have a longer time where you drive with 2 different tires. Maybe you do it longer and then you already start thinking about it, and then it gets really complicated. So we will see what the drivers have come up with here with this format. And Pinchos, at least, he's on a good lap. That's a very good second sector. Let's see where he slots in. P6.
Just behind his fellow Mercedes, Tim Heinemann. Here comes a Corvette now of Andre Santos, who has set 2 purple sectors. It was a scruffy final corner, and that scruffy final corner has cost him, Rob. It's an improvement. He's within 500ths of a provisional pole position, but still Moritz Lerner remains undisturbed.
Yeah, Lerner set this time early on, and no one really managed to get him away from this pole position. Maybe Eamon Murphy, he's on the purple sector, so is Tim Heinemann. Let's see, Murphy drops back a little bit. Where is Heinemann on track? Heinemann is ahead on track. Heinemann also had a slow second sector here, so not sure if anyone can really get in there. But yeah, Murphy in P4, that's a bit of a surprise.
Well, I didn't realize it at first, Rob, but when you mentioned Lazarus, I'm like, oh. Oh, Lazarus has signed him? Okay. That's a big name. And it's a name that are going to be putting a lot of trust in any sort of drivers that they sign up. So I'm fascinated to see what Murphy can do in race conditions. Speaking of, we're going to be heading there very soon. We're into the final minutes or so of qualifying. So if you've not crossed the line by now, Rob, then you're out of qualifying. Lerner, Santos, Hasser, all in the pits. It's up to the likes of here, Schaefer, Heinemann, and the aforementioned Murphy to try and improve their positions.
Yeah, usually on RaceRoom, when the timer hits 0, you can't improve your time. We've seen this a few times recently, that RaceRoom decides just to stay a little bit longer in qualifying for no particular reason, so we will... we just have to watch out today what's going to happen here in the qualifying. Schaefer in P9. Johannes Weiss only in P14. That's a bit out of position here. Or the German in the black Mercedes. We expected him to be a little bit higher up in the qualifying. Let's check with our Brazilian in the Porsche, Vini Oliveira, P20 at the moment.
How the mighty have fallen, Rob. That Porsche would have been top 10 material last season. I mean, of course, you could say that it could be partially the driver as well. He is the only Porsche, so we don't really have anyone to compare him against. But it is a stark contrast to Season 1.
Yeah, Tim Heinemann staying in P6. That was a good lap. Robin Zieren actually on P9 on his debut as well. That's great. Ahead of Schaefer, ahead of the 2 Impact Audis. Great performance from him here.
David Nall showed P8 as well. That's a decent effort.
And here we go with the results of the qualifying session.
So it's Moritz Lerner ahead of Santos and Hasser. It's a top 3 that I think nobody can argue against. We were expecting that sort of list. But Eamon Murphy putting him, the proverbial cat amongst the pigeons. The debutant here, Rob. He's got nothing to lose. And what a great start to his GT Masters Esports career. P4.
Yeah, great job by him. And now we will see a 40-minute race. Now we will see what they've come up with for the race here. Hopefully not so many accidents. Oschersleben is a very difficult track to overtake. You can see all the cars lining up on the grid here. So we have the Audi, the red Audi on pole, that's Lerner. Then 2 blue and white Corvettes. Hasse and Santos, of course, teammates, so they're in the same livery. And Murphy in the pink Audi, and then the blue with the light blue Corvette. That's Alex Romand, who's up to P5, who beat Heinemann, who's P6 in the fastest Mercedes.
So a reminder, this race is very much contained. You can set yourself up well for the event as a whole. It's not all over, though, until the fat lady sings. Who's going to put themselves on the pedestal, however, at the end of 40 minutes? We're racing here at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena, and it's a pretty slow start, actually. You can see there from Eamon Murphy. Immediately getting involved is Tim Heinemann. Into the faster turn one we go then. And it is Lerner who leads from Santos. Heinemann. Going wide. Hasser's gone off the track immediately. And Heinemann, his good start continues. He's up to P3, so a couple of casualties there at turn 1. Immediately to the back of the field is the likes of Courtois. Hasser off there. Vinny Oliveira off as well. But you look at Fromont, he's made a great start up to P5. It was a fast turn 1, Rob. We were expecting something to happen. But that's massive. Our joint champion from Season 1 is already out of the running in terms of point scoring.
Yes, and I think it was Tim Heinemann who went into the back of Florian Hasse here. So reverse of the last season's race, where Hasse hit Heinemann, and then he DNF'd, but Hasse all the way back to, where is he actually? P20 only.
He's done well to recover to P20, my Rob. I thought he was going right to the back.
Yeah, Klaus Schulze is right at the back. He was also involved in the start accident.
And so already, drama. And look at this, Moritz Lerner's got some drama to deal with himself now. It was a clean start, but Andre Santos is hungry for a win. At the end of lap 1, Lerner, at least for now, leads from Santos. Behind them, it's Heinemann, Murphy, Romont, Noj, Schaefer, Stanger, Pinches, and Siren, who qualified well but fell back in this opening lap. As I said earlier, Rob, that Corvette has very good pedigree here. Of course, the Audi looking like a better beast than Season 1 itself, though. It's going to be fascinating to see how this transpires, especially with Tim Heinemann involved. Lee Sabino going for a bit of rallycross himself. Speaking of the likes of Robin Siren, he recovers it well, though, still in P19.
Yeah, that was Florian Hasse who went past him here up the inside, and now in the midfield in this extremely tight battle, you see Karel Vega there lining up a move against Nicolas Claes. So, yeah, in this midfield it's very difficult, especially on a track like Oschersleben, to find your way back to the front of the field.
Well, I mean, it's a nice move lining up, and Vega's actually passed as well, completes it. Johannes Weiss, he's not done much better, has he either? He qualified P14, he's only gone backwards since the start. P16 under pressure from Bernard Vella, and Florian Hasser is absolutely flying, Rob. Look at this, already up to P18, lining up P17, he mounts the curb, his car goes all sorts of different directions, and he still pulled off an unbelievable overtake. Excellent car control.
Yeah, and Bernard Vella was leaving him a lot of space there, otherwise that would have been an accident for sure. Hasse certainly a bit angry here with Heinemann after this race, but Heinemann, what he also has to think about is that there's a 3-strike limit for this special event. If you collect more than 3 strikes, you're out of the season. So, first corner accident, if it's deemed his fault, that could be already up to 2 strikes, so he really needs to watch out for the remainder of the event.
And it should be further emphasized as well in terms of the penalty system. As look at this. Oh, a cutback. Who is this? This is
Weiss.
Weiss. Yeah. And Caserta getting into contact there. And that's a beautiful cutback from Weiss. Caserta clearly not happy. But I thought that was a very fair move, to be honest. But speaking of the fairness, any incidents across the 2 races, they're going to be dealt with post-race, so we don't have to worry about anything within the space of this broadcast, but we do have to take notes of if incidents do occur, of course, Rob, because that could mean that the disciplinary committee post-race might hand out a couple of... Someone went flying off, yeah, that's the Porsche Vinny Oliveira, so back down to P29 he goes. Yes, naughty boys.
Oh, Hasse!
Hasse are going off circuit
to
try and muscle his way around the outside there.
He pushed Caserta there a little bit, and Caserta gave it straight back. And I think this is, I mean, was an aggressive move from Hasse, and this is what he has to expect in return. Cassert himself now has been passed by Vela. Now side by side once again with Hasse. Oh!
Almost going off circuit there. Hasse looking to go around the outside of Caserta. I don't like to pick up on nationality.
Vega's
there
off.
goes an Audi. Vega going well wide and rejoins the circuit as two Mercedes go side by side as well. But with Italians, you tend to get a little bit of fire from these folks, and especially if they're riled up, you do not want to cross them on a racing circuit. Hasse with the undercut on exit.
Once again there.
And he should be through surely. Yeah, into the triple. He is just ahead. Caserta is going to be following him all the way through. And is there any chance to launch anything up the inside of this right-hander? No. Hasse is through and confirmed into P17.
Back up to the leaders here. Moritz Löhner still leading. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Löhner in the Audi, then Santos in the Corvette, which has a bit of understeer there. It's always running very wide on the corner exits. And then Tim Heinemann in the yellow Mercedes.
Do we think that Santos is biding his time here, Rob? Because he was putting a lot of pressure on Löhner in those opening laps, but seems to have just cooled off a little.
I think for Santos, P2 is really fine. He just wants to get a gap to Heinemann. He knows he can beat Löhner in the... Oh, Heinemann on the grass, I think. That was close.
Just rescued it, didn't he? It's so dangerous. You dip one wheel into the grass area, Rob, and you find yourself flying off the circuit. Murphy still doing nicely. They're in P4, ahead of the experienced Romont and Nosh. Looking back to Florian Hasse, now lining up a move
again against Vela.
Yeah. I tell you what, even if there isn't much movement up front, we've got a very fast and a very spicy prospect back here in the midfield. It's always great to see one of the faster guys fighting through. Of course, it's a shame for Hasse that he got hit off, but hopefully more overtakes to come from his side. Klaus Schulze here, another one of the affected in turn 1, trying to fight his way back up. Jan Courtois ahead.
There we go, same move for Hasse. Once again the corner under the bridge, and this time just cleanly through.
He wasn't going to fight that, was he?
No, I think Vela knows that he just needs to rescue some points here. Also a bit out of position. Let's see if Schulze can do the same move. No, he's still behind Courtois, yeah. Courtois, of course, no slow driver himself. He also lost out at the start of the race. Oh, I think there's Siren.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was Stange, indeed. You were right. The Stange out of the top 8. Siren and Pinchos are both past him, and now Benedek on the outside as well.
He's within the top 10 for now. Balin Benedek almost offered the opportunity there. Robert Siren, nice and calm, moves his way through into P9. Behind you can see Heiko Kolbenbach as well, watching on in P12.
Selstrate and Vega here. Oh, super nice cutback.
Oh, contact, and look at that, the straight line speed of the Mercedes still powering through, Rob. Great scrap, and this over P26.
Yeah, lots of great scraps here. That's Klaas and Bana. Bana also way out of position. Oh, Klaas, that's off the track. And
he's going to lose a handful of positions there and rejoins right ahead of the aforementioned battle. Here comes Schellsteiner, who fancies a little go himself, and he's going to put some distance between himself and Vega if he completes this move, which he does.
Nice move from the Belgian on the other Belgian. And Vega's closing in.
Reminder that points go all the way down to P15, so it's a generous scoring system, but these guys with a lot to do there within the bottom 6 drivers as things stand. A long road ahead of them with just over 30 minutes remaining.
And Löhner can't gap Santos. Santos just staying with him here.
It's possible that Santos is tire saving.
I'm not sure. He's driving pretty fast at the moment, so wouldn't necessarily say that he's tire saving.
And of course, the mandatory pit stop is going to be interesting to see when drivers come in, isn't it? Because I think as season 1 brought on, we tended to see drivers pitting, if not at the midway point, then just after the midway point, 60-70% through the race. But in the first round at Oschersleben, we saw a much more varied style of strategy, didn't we? We saw some people coming in as early as within the first 25 minutes of the race completed. So is that relevant information for this particular round? Maybe not, as there's been contacts further back. And who's involved there? It's two of the yellow Mercedes, and it's Posan and Claes who've gotten involved with each other, down to P28 and P29 respectively.
Big damage for Posan. Oh, and it gets super close here now in the top 10. Actually, we have to go to Jan Stange first, because he made a pass stick into the first corner. Back to P9, past Robin Zieren here. But now the battle really begins as well for the... Oh, Weiss is out! Sorry to interrupt you there. Weiss, he's not out, he's in the pits.
And that was as soon as the pit lane window opened. You would have seen there the red dots unveiling themselves from our timing tower. That means that the pit lane is now open for pit stops. And literally, Rob, as we were just touching upon that point of some people going for early pit stops in the first round of Season 1, here we see Johannes Weiss rolling the dice. Is off the track there goes Adrian Scholzesek there, who flies off into the barrier. Hopefully not too much damage on that Mercedes, but running in a strong midfield position down to P15. Weiss rejoins the track down in P28. I think that was a 2-tyre stop as well, Rob. He is throwing the dice and seeing if it sticks.
Yeah, Vega also in the pits. And I think for Weiss this makes a lot of sense, because he was stuck in the midfield. And now he has the track for himself, and we will see how the gaps will develop there. He can catch up. Currently 54.8 seconds back, so we will check that in a couple of laps. See if the strategy might even work for him.
About 30 seconds, 40 seconds or so for a 2-tyre stop. You can add another 10-20 seconds onto that if it's a 4-tyre stop. That's generally how to tell the two apart. In comes Caserta. What a lively race he's had so far. But doing a similar thing to Weiss. He was in the midfield, and he wants to see whether he can't undercut some people later on in the race. Of course, we saw this strategy employed, Rob, by the Porsche contingent, the Williams contingent in Season 1. It came back to bite them then, but that was because it was an hour-long race. If it was a 40-minute race like today, then it would have been a Williams 1-2-3.
Yeah, it can definitely work with the strategy, but each car will react differently to the tires. And then, of course, which tires do you change, the front or the rear? Can't change just one side on RaceRoom, just front or rear options. And we've got Martin Barner right in front of him is Renato Santos, one of the Brazilian guys in the race. Also on his RaceRoom competition debut.
It's a fascinating balance to find, isn't it? Because if you change 2 tyres on the front, which I think will be the preferred option around here at Oschersleben, as Romont might be into the pits. There was some change up there. Santos defending and defends well. Yeah, Romont into the pits. If you change the front 2 tyres, then you're going to have better grip on the front. You're going to be able to turn into the corners better. But when it comes to traction out of corners, obviously you're going to be suffering a lot more. If you change the rear tyres, then that grip isn't going to be so much of a problem, but you're going to find that understeer starts to become almost unbearable in the final 5 to 10 minutes. And of course, with Oschersleben's varying degrees of corners and elongated corners at that as well, Rob, I think that that's going to be the least popular choice out of the 3 options that you have on the table.
But we see that Weiss is losing a lot of time. Well, actually, he's so far back that the timing isn't so reliable, unfortunately. But it looks like he's lost a bit of time compared to the leaders. And that this car is not going so smooth as it was before. Let's see where Romont came out. Pretty much clean air. It's a good track position for him.
Yeah, that looks to be like another 2-tyre stop. Nicely ahead of Weiss, about 20 or 10, 20 seconds ahead of Weiss.
Oh,
Santos is going for it! He has launched himself into the Zeppelin corner, and is he going to take the lead on exit? Just about, but Moritz Lerner is still there. He's still got his car. He's still got his nose in, and into turn 1, he's going to have the inside corner. But look at that, Santos sweeps around the outside and takes the lead in fine fashion. But look at the cutback here from Moritz Lerner, still a threat, still eager to get that lead back, and running wide goes Santos Is that lead going to be back in Lerner's hands? Sorry. Yes, it is. What an attempt, Rob. But it didn't pay off.
Oh, and it puts Heinemann into the mix as well now. It's caught up a lot there. Brave move from Santos. Not sure if he had to do it, really. But he definitely tried it, and now Lerner still in the lead of the race, but he knows that he has to watch out against Santos.
I feel like he was trying to catch Lerner napping, but what Lerner did really well was he reacted immediately by saying, okay, if you're going to throw yourself up the inside, then I'll try and get as much traction as I can on the outside of the corner. He did so. It meant that he was competitive into turn 1, he was competitive into turn 2, and that pressure of trying to make the move stick ultimately got to Santos. He remains in P2 for now, but his intentions have been clear from the outset. He fancies this race win, and he's not going to launch another go into the Zeppelin curve on this particular rotation of the track, but Lerner knows that he is there and he is to be feared.
Close battle still with the cars that have been in the pits. Vella on the inside against Barna. Goes past him. They're both behind Schulze, actually, who already was in the pits, and also behind Weiss. We'll go back to the leaders, though, because it's still super tight.
And yeah, I think not that. I mean, look, you can see back to P7. I mean, it's a close top of the pack.
Yeah, I think the two leaders are still a bit quicker than the other cars there, because they've gapped Heinemann a little bit already.
It's kind of holding each other up, aren't they, with the battle? As Alan Benedek comes into the pits as well, as does Renato Santos. Not related, the two Santoses here today.
I just got a message from the chat that Weiss and Romain are apparently both gaining on the leader. That's interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look at Vermont. He's got 5 seconds of clean air ahead of him. The likes of Hillebrand, Courtois, and Sabino yet to pit as well.
Oh, Heinemann always so slidey there in the background.
These two still going on. This is kind of the strategy that we saw employed in the second half of last season, where the leaders don't look to make the big calls. They wait for everything to unfold behind them. They feel that they can control the race with the pace that they're demonstrating as we head towards the halfway mark. But which one is going to blink first out of these two, Rob? I mean, surely Andre Santos, he's got the advantage now. Would it be worth Lerner coming in, cutting off the potential undercut strategy from Santos?
We have Schaefer and Pinchas also close to each other. I think Schaefer made a small mistake. She dropped back a little bit. 0 now in the pits. Us in the top 10.
Husser is in the top 10, but he has been displaced because of the pits ahead of him. Still moving his way through the field nicely, though. Next on his list will be Martin Peterman here. The tyres will start to betray him sooner rather than later, I imagine.
Let's see where 0 comes out, especially in comparison to Weiss.
But he's behind Romont, isn't he?
I mean, I think he's still ahead of Weiss.
He is ahead of Weiss.
Yeah, so that's not really... It's not really paying off for Weiss then with this early pit stop.
Keep in mind, Siren was strong top 10. And Weiss was, what, in the midfield, of which Weiss is now 4 or 5 seconds away. I think it's not worked out badly for him.
Yeah, that's true. And Murphy has caught Heinemann.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It's not worked out great.
Notch in the pits.
Notch in the pits. He's looking to try and get an undercut attempt. He was in the top 7. Now, what can Eamon Murphy do? Tim Heinemann, plenty of experience to draw from, but he's gone wide, not for the first time at turn number 1. Racing for the turn 1 team, Eamon Murphy had a bit of a sniff there. Wasn't able to convert, and look at this Florian Hasser around the outside of turn 2. Wow! That is an amazing overtake.
Yeah, stunning pass forced Petermann into the mistake. Just goes past him. Pinches in the pits now, so we have to go to Vermont. See when they come out of the pits. Because Notch as well. Notch is already going again. These two were very close together. Vermont's ahead.
I think that's the order that they came in. But I'm pretty sure that Notch is closer than he was before, Rob.
But Pinchas is definitely way further back, so he has changed all 4 tires.
Yeah, as has Schaefer. pinches all the way
behind
back
Weiss.
to P15. Behind Weiss. By 6 seconds or so as well. It's a gamble. It's a gamble. He's only got 20 minutes to try and make up the ground, Rob. I don't think points. I mean, points are definitely on the card for him because on the board, on the card, whatever your choice of analogy. He is in P15, so he is going to be scoring regardless. How far up the order can he go? Tim Heinemann and Andre Santos in. And so Santos going for the undercut. Tim Heinemann looking to get a fresh pair of boots on to try and stave off Murphy. But I think that's the wrong call from Heinemann. Murphy was looking a lot quicker. Might overcut him, actually. Lerner, I'm not too sure about. I think he should have come in first. Santos might have pulled out the best strategy here out before.
Both on the same strategy at least. That's Hillebrand going past. Where's Romain? That could be tight. There's Romain. He's passing. There's
Wow,
Notch. He's also passed.
Well, the undercut has worked. Time has been gained, and Tim Heinemann has lost 2 positions at least. Oh, a tank slapper on the exit of turn 2. Not looking like a happy car. And that further cements him behind the 2 Corvettes.
Yeah, now it will be interesting how the balances of these cars with the 2 new tires, they can attack or not. We'll watch the gap of Weiss and Pinches, for example. I think Lerner is in the pits as well. Yes, indeed. And Murphy takes the lead.
He had to. Lerner had to respond to Santos. Murphy less so. Murphy was looking like one of the faster out before.
Peterman now up to 2nd.
Under in. Let's look at Florian Hasse here. Hasse up to P3.
He's also in the pits.
Oh, he's into the pits now, yeah.
Oh, and Santos behind. Santos has dropped back behind Notch and Romain.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Well.
Let's see where Lerner comes out. Lerner's changed 4 tires. He's behind Stange.
Has he changed 4 tires?
Yes,
or
and
has
he
2
has.
minutes just that much?
No, Stange's in the same car. He was way behind him. So Lerner has lost a lot of positions. That means that Romain is virtually leading this race, is on his way for maybe his first RaceRoom competition race win.
But he changed 2 tires.
Yeah, let's see how his car will behave there throughout the race. I'm not sure how many tires Santos changed. I think he also only changed 2.
He must have only changed 2. Lerner
Yeah.
definitely changed 4, looking at it in retrospect. And I mean, you look at Weiss now, Rob, up to P11, forgetting, of course, that Peterman, Courtois, and Hillebrand all have to come in themselves. So Johannes Weiss has launched himself from the mires of the midfield up into the top 10.
And if Murphy changes 2 tires now, he could take the lead of the race after the pit stops.
Yeah.
Because he was ahead of Romain.
Here comes Peterman as well.
No collisions, of course, in the pit lane. Where you saw these 2 cars driving through each other.
Courtois going to take the lead. Hillebrand's in. Yeah, Courtois going to take the lead of the race. Through goes Romont as well, and Santos.
Oh, and
Where is
Murphy changed 4 tires as well.
Interesting.
Peterman only changed 2. That really shakes up the order. And there's Santos with his move against Notch. David Notch was in 2nd place. Well, 3rd place, actually, because of Courtois. That's what we were talking about with the strategy becoming a massive factor here in this race.
So I think we have an order, Rob. I think we have an order. Displacing Yann Courtois, who still is yet to pit. It'll be Romont leading from Santos and Naj. Heinemann, Stange up in the top 5. Lerner P6, although that might switch around in the next lap or so. Murphy, Weiss, Peterman, and Hasse, who remember was off at the first corner, potentially through into the top 10 once again. Romont takes the lead on track, and here's the move that we were looking to. Lerner overtakes Stange.
Yeah, of course, Lerner will have a faster car at the moment.
Well, he'll have a
Santos.
faster car until the end of the race, Rob. He's changed all
Yeah.
4 tyres.
Courtois coming into the pits. Hasse now preparing his move once again against Peterman.
And look at him, Pinch is near there as well, Rob! Gets super close underneath the rear wing of the Corvette. We have lost 1 from this race, Norbert Poussin, sadly.
Actually lost 2 because only 29 drivers listed, so someone must have disconnected.
Yes.
Not sure who that is. Either way, he can rejoin in the next race. It could be Klaus Schulze, actually. I think it is Klaus Schulze.
I don't see Klaus. I don't see Klaus.
So Hasse now getting held up a little bit here by Peterman. And of course, they're fighting for position.
Every point counts.
And I still think Santos must have made a mistake there to allow Vromo and Notch through.
I'm just curious about the gap between... Because here's the thing. Lerner, yes, he changed all 4 tyres, but look at that gap between Santos and Lerner now. 5, 6 seconds? With fresh tyres, with 15 minutes to go. I don't see that being a problem for Lerner. Given that he can make his way past Heinemann, as Peterman holds on for dear life against Hasse.
Oh, I think Hasse has the inside now. Yeah, Peterman has to give him room there. Just slots back in to stay ahead of Pinches. Also has 2 fresh tires, and Pinches just forces his way through there. Clean pass, but hard pass.
Arsenal needed to be made if he wants to keep touch with the German ahead. Peterman falls outside of the top 10, but points still on the cards.
Oh, he was looking there, almost missed the corner.
Further back, the rest of the point score is rounded out by Benedek, Schulze, Schaefer.
Oh yeah,
and
Schulze
Siren.
is still in the race, so I'm not sure who we're missing.
Someone. So, Vermont leads by just over a second. Santos, within a second of him, is Notch.
Oh, Hasse!
Oh, contact! Hasse, round, Pinches behind him, contact!
Oh, and Schulze has smashed into it. Yeah.
And that, I mean, Rob, there's only one way through that corner, and there is only one person at fault.
And that's heartbreak for Klaus Schulze, who has nothing to do with the accident. But that's his chances of points over.
Massive damage on the front end of that car. And thankfully for Hasse, the victim in all of that, the victim twice now, Robert, being hit from behind. Down to P12.
Yeah, behind Schaefer and Benedek, not the 2 slowest drivers.
Still in the points, mind. Could have been worse. That's going to be music to the ears of everyone else inside the top 10, of whom Hasse could have certainly been a threat to them given his pace. Pinches actually didn't lose too much out of that either, but he might lose out via the disciplinary committee. A reminder, all incidents like that going to be investigated after this event is over. So he may yet face justice from the DC, of course.
Yeah, it doesn't help Hasse or Schulze though. I mean, Hasse can report two drivers. Maybe, of course, they will lose some points from the penalties, but Hasse just finishes P12 here. That's not really good enough, is it?
And ultimately, of course, we are just commentators in viewing that one time and one time only. We don't have the luxury of replay, sadly, so that there might have been something that we missed. But certainly on first inspection, seems pretty clear cut to me, and we opens up the door, Robert, for someone like this man, Nicholas Hillebrand. Steph Kramers as well.
Steph Kramers in the points.
Yeah.
The young Dutchman here, great performance, but Hillebrand I think is faster at the moment. He's looking to make the overtake stick, and Lerner has half the gap to Heinemann.
Yikes. I said that gap might be doable, Rob. I think he's proving it in spades. Look how close this battle is, though. For the final point-paying position, you got Hillebrand, Barner, Adrian Scholziak. Remember, he was in the wall just a couple of laps ago. He might end up there again, however. Contact between him and Renato Sanchez. Both of them go round.
Ooh.
And that's not the best rejoin either.
No, and
I
think Scholziak should have left him more room there on the inside. Where should Santos go? Just no other way there. Vega went past, and Vega has been touched by Sabino here in the final corner, so they're not even in the points, but the battles are super fierce in the midfield. Oh, there's Hillebrand, he's off!
Hillebrand! He's around! And Steph Kramer's, his defensive efforts are paying off, Rob, still in P15.
And with the Mercedes so strong at the Red Bull Ring, at the next track, which will come directly after this one here, this could be a very good good score for Kramers, just to get into the points here, just to get a point from this race.
Look at Lerner, Rob.
10 minutes left. Not a lot of time, and he's got a car that's quite slow on the straights.
10 minutes left, Rob, but less than 5 seconds off the lead, of which everyone ahead of him has only changed 2 tyres, and that problem is only going to be getting worse and exasperating even more as these 10 minutes progress.
Yes, indeed. You can see Heinemann there struggling a little bit. Lerner fastest lap time 22.3. And that's the fastest lap time overall in this race.
It's the Benz Bunky strategy, Rob, but it's unlike last season. He would have had 20 more minutes on top of this 10 minutes to make his strategy work.
Where can he pass Heinemann? Heinemann pretty aggressive. Also on the defense. Oh, he almost loses it again there. Oh! Yeah,
and he's done it! There you go. That was, I mean, listen, he had to commit to that going up the inside of the McDonald's chicane. But that's one down, Rob. 3 seconds to the next car, and he could be on the podium.
Yeah, and I think Heinemann realized that, oh, that was a mistake there. And then he lifted off the throttle and just let Lerner take the position, because Heinemann also knows he needs to just get into the top 8 overall here. Schaefer and Benedek.
Yeah.
And Petermann, of course.
Well. Looking to the inside. I'm looking back down to P13 and P14 as well, Rob. There's a 19-second gap between Siren and Pinches.
Yeah, something must have happened to Siren.
Don't must have happened to the rest of the field, Rob. He's so far behind. Quite impressive, actually.
Oh, that has happened to Siren. He's missing the entire front of his Mercedes.
And Steph Kramer's lining up P14 here. Siren's going to try to turn in. And he does so just about, but Kramer's up into 14th. It could be double trouble as the fellow Mercedes and Martin Barner now looking for that final point. Barner launches it, but just enough speed for Siren to stay ahead for now. The exit isn't too great though. Steph Kramer's, he's going to be focusing on the road ahead. He doesn't want to focus on what's behind him, but what is happening behind is Barner taking that P15 away from Robin Siren.
Lerner has caught Notch.
Already, that was a lap, and he's
Notch is letting him through there.
3 seconds to the next car once again, Rob.
But it's only really Lerner that is flying so much. Murphy is not able to do a similar pace to Lerner.
But to be fair, he's got an Audi ahead of him. And that Audi's going to be stronger in the corners. Easier to hold him behind. As Pinches makes his way back through.
It's Asa, I think.
Asa. Interesting.
Oh, I think something happened to Hillebrand. He's jumping all over the timing here. Oh yeah, he's struggling.
Oh, yeah. He went off the timing beam, didn't he? So he's back down to P21. We don't have to worry about him too much. Still the front two within a second, but there is the danger man. Moritz Lerner, 2.5 seconds away. 6.5 minutes remain on the clock.
He's definitely going faster here than both of the Corvettes. But Romo and Santos, they will be pretty difficult to overtake with the wide car. A lot of straight line speed. And I think Santos actually can go a bit faster than Romo at the moment.
Romo was one of the first pitters, wasn't he?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, but Johannes Weiss, who's still in the top 8. And what's good for Weiss is that Petermann and Schäfer are battling pretty hard behind.
Petermann's done a really good job since the pit stop, I think. Really, really strong performance from him.
And he pitted so late, his tires aren't so bad.
Yeah. Less than 2 seconds between Lerner and Santos. top three is coming together very nicely indeed. But only 5.5 minutes to get their deeds done. You can see that Santos has got the hurry up, looking on the inside of turn number 3. Not able to make a move on Fromont.
And that just brings Lerner closer.
Yeah, he might just have to send it, Rob. He's getting held up too much.
I just need to point out another driver here. Jan Stange has changed only 2 tires, but he's a lot quicker than Heinemann at the moment. So he has found something on this Audi to make it go extremely quick with only 2 tires changed.
And he's gapping Murphy as well.
Yeah.
He changed all 4 tires. It's quite incredible.
Even losing another place. Didn't come into the pits with his damage. Just quickly checking with Petermann here. And a lot of pressure by Schäfer. Kremers and Barner as well in the battle. 4 minutes 45 to go.
We need to go back up to that lead battle, Rob. Lerner's within a second. He's within a second of the top 2. A win is in sight for all 3 of these drivers. Vromont's got the worst hand. Santos has got an ace. But Lerner has got the royal flush. He has got all the cards. He just needs to play it at the right time.
Heinemann meanwhile has caught Notch in behind. You can see it. Next car should be Stange, yes, indeed.
4 minutes. I hand the mic over to you, Moritz Lerner. Let's see what you can do to recover first place. Where do we think he even has the best opportunity, Rob?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm not sure. I think probably undercut in the first corner with the Audi. Because he's not going to be quick enough here on the straights, especially when Santos has a slipstream himself.
He finds himself in the Stefanko position of Season 1, doesn't he? Where Stefanko clearly had good pace, but just didn't have the straight line speed to overtake.
Or maybe in the final corner as well, that could work. But is he even going for a move, or is Santos going for a move? From more defense? Oh, that leaves the door open!
Everyone's going for a move. They all fancy a bite of the Vromont pie. And I think the Moritz Lerner, just didn't have the best exit. Nose to tail across the line. 3 minutes remaining. That should be 3 more laps left on the clock. And down the inside goes Santos of turn 1. Contact between the 2.
And Lerner on the inside!
And Lerner goes up the inside. He gets the cutback. Is it going to be 2 in 1? Yes, it is. He's gone to the supermarket. It's buy one, get one free. And Lerner, with the best tyres and with arguably the best car for this circuit, has now retaken the lead at the best possible opportunity. I'm stumbling over my words, Rob, but that was amazingly beautiful foresight of the situation, and it's paid off wonderfully well.
Lerner making the most out of his new tires here. He only had a very short window of time here to catch up to the leaders, to make his strategy work, and he did so beautifully. 2 minutes and 30 seconds before the end of the race, he's back in the lead.
Just 6 months ago, it was Williams going from jubilation to despair. Today, it's the Williams driver on top with the alternate strategy. But still, there is a battle for second place to be decided. Santos wants that second place, but Alexandre Vromont, what a drive he's put in, Rob. He's got 2 more laps to defend off this hungry German.
Yeah, it's one of the best drives we've ever seen from Alex Vromont here. Driving for the SDL Esports team, formerly Oscaro. Doing a perfect job here against one of the fastest drivers on RaceRoom, Andre Santos, in the same car.
The rivalry between Euronics and Oscaro has been well documented. And I'm sure that Vromont will still hold a little bit of that rivalry in him from his time at Oscaro. Out of the way is the lapped traffic. I think that's Scholzek, unfortunately. David Norris is about 3 seconds back, Rob, but he's got his own troubles.
Meanwhile, Schäfer has gone past Petermann. Schäfer now up to P9. In lap traffic here, that's Oliveira, and I'm not sure who the other one is. The other one is actually Johannes Weiss, so that's not lap traffic, that's for position.
He's 11 seconds away from Murphy, but Murphy actually has finally found a bit of pace in his own car. Starting to give Jan Stanger a couple of thoughts.
Yeah, something Didn't quite work out for Murphy there.
Still a good debut, Rob. P7 on. First time in these cars.
But P7 here in the Audi,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily gonna be good enough when you come to the Red Bull Ring, where you have Hasse as well, might finish further ahead, where you have Schäfer and Weiss, have a strong car there.
A reminder, we're within this shootout effectively running a mini championship of sorts. The top 8 top point scorers across these two races, as Schäfer going around the outside of Weiss. The top 8 will get those guaranteed spots across Season 2, all LAN events. Great battle between Schäfer and Weiss. Weiss with a masterstroke of a strategy, I feel, but now, at the very depth of it, is going to lose out due to tyre wear.
Heinemann has lost his front bumper.
Yes, he has. And he could potentially lose P5 with it as well. Naj has been set free. Mustanger and Murphy, another position potentially awaits. Just going around the triple, and Murphy senses an opportunity to potentially use the now traffic of Heinemann to overtake Stanger. I'm conscious of the front because time has been run. And yeah, we're going to focus now on our leader. Ultimately, over 3.5 seconds pulled over 3 laps, Rob, after that double overtake. Moritz Lerner, we were questioning the strategy, but what a performance.
Well, they're all going past Heinemann here. Down to P7. But we have to say a lot of congratulations to Moritz Lerner for a superb drive here. Winning at Oschersleben in the Audi. P1 for Moritz Lerner, congratulations. Second place, Romain. Just ahead of Andres Santos.
That is one of Alex's best drives. 100%. Excellent defensive work.
In fourth.
Naj P4, wow.
And Stange P5.
On debut in the championship. Excellent stuff from Jan Stange. Eamon Murphy on debut. P6, Tim Heinemann. That late mistake sees him down to P7 with Richard Schäfer taking P8, of course. Weiss 9th. Eatman 10th. Benedek pinches. Hasse, Kremers, and Caserta rounding out the point scorers. There is still another race, Rob. But I think that we have our front runners for certain. And certainly for Moritz Lerner, he needed to get that win. But look at this, still scrapping outside of the points. Nicholas Hillebrand here. P16. Kramers and Caserta are actually still scrapping around for those final couple of points. I didn't even realize they hadn't finished. As of yet, I thought they were lap traffic. Kremers is going to take P14, Caserta P15, Hillebrand holds off, Carol Vega for P16, but ultimately P16, you might as well call him the first loser, Rob, because P16 gives you nil point. For Moritz Lerner, he needed to take that win. The Audi, we're expecting it to not do as well as the Red Bull Ring, but that is a solid 25 points going the Germans' way.
Fastest lap for Lerner as well. Congratulations to him.
Good points for Romont, Santos, Naj as well. Sanger and Murphy. Oh, they're in dicey territory. P5 and P6, it's good points, but will they be able to do enough of the Red Bull Ring to secure their place in the top 8 overall? We're going to find out in a little bit, because I think, Rob, we're going to be taking a short break, aren't we?
Yes, I'm just trying to figure out who left. The guy who was in P14 left the server, so he's not counted in the results at the moment. Not entirely sure who that was. But yeah,
We've got 15 minutes to find out, don't we?
exactly. The drivers are now going over to the Red Bull Ring where they start their practice session. And for us, that gives us a little bit of a break, in which we can calculate the point standings, for example. And you know, where we can just give these drivers a little bit of time to get into the rhythm here. So we will just show you 2 little videos, then just be a little bit off the stream, and then yeah, we will be back here. You don't have to turn it off, you can just leave it running in the background.
We're literally going to take 15 minutes, so the live stream is still going to be running. Get yourself some snacks, get up, have a walk about. You don't want to be sitting down for too long. Grab yourself some water, keep hydrated. As I say, 15 minutes past the hour, that is when we're going to be back. So go somewhere, walk about a little bit, but be back for then. We'll see you soon.
KW, für jeden Anspruch das richtige Fahrwerk. KW, für jeden Anspruch das richtige Fahrwerk.
Well, I hope you enjoyed your break, or indeed, if you're just joining us, I hope you've had a good day. Welcome back to the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship Season 2 Shootout. We have just witnessed a thrilling race at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, but we are not done just yet. We still have all that process to do again, this time at the Red Bull Ring. So, just get strapped in. It's going to be an awesome ride. Before then, however, we have decided, we being myself, James Kirk, and my lovely co-caster, Robert Wiesenmüller, we've decided to let you in on basically a behind-the-scenes look at how the disciplinary committee looks into incidents, and in particular, an incident right at the start of race number 1 between Tim Heinemann and Florian Hasse. So, Robert, I will hand over to you. Let's have a look, shall we?
Yes, indeed, and let's see if we can get the picture here on the screen. There we are. There we can see this car of Tim Heinemann at the start of the race, and we'll just have a look from his perspective on the accident with Florian Hasse. So this is a replay, of course, of the first race here that we're just going to play now for you. Fantastic start from Heinemann, bad start from Murphy. You have to watch out for the Corvette on the right side there. That's Florian Hasse. Heinemann plays some pass cleanly here against Murphy, goes in very deep. Now he hits Hasse, but at the same time Hasse is very far in the middle of the track. We're just gonna pull it back here. We can just do this and reverse here. Maybe also switch to a camera of a different car. We're just reversing this here. We can also see it from different angles.
And so it's important, as someone viewing the incident, you need to have all of the angles available, so you need to see it from both drivers' perspectives, right? Otherwise, you can't get that absolute definitive decision that ultimately could cost the driver points or places in both real and virtual motorsport.
Yeah, but there you can see it. Definitely it was Heinemann who hit Hasse there. Got it in the back of him, but also a bit of a weird line from Hasse, and maybe a contributing factor to the decision of the stewards afterwards here, after this event is done.
So it's a fascinating look, isn't it? Because you can definitely see, of course, the offending driver in regards to who hit who was obviously Tim Heinemann, but you've got Florian Hasse's perspective to consider as well. He was in a weird place on the track. He was going a lot slower than Heinemann was clearly expecting, and so it is down to the disciplinary committee ultimately to make a judgment call on, could Heinemann have done anything to avoid the incident? Was Florian Hasse compromised going into the first corner himself? Lots of things to consider. Lots of things that we don't have to worry about ourselves. Onwards with the show, Rob, and to the Red Bull Ring, up in the fine mountainous region. I think it's pretty close to, well, it's obviously near Spielberg. 4.3 kilometer circuit. Very simple circuit, but I would argue one of the best circuits as well. It's so easy to race on here, but for the Audis, which should in theory have loved Oschersleben, they might not fancy their chances so much here. Yes, there are varying corner complexes, a lot of fast corners, but straight line speed is key.
Yes, indeed, completely different track in terms of the style compared to the previous track, compared to Oschersleben, and we should be getting back into the game pretty soon now. As you see, we can hear already some of the cars in the background now. There's the schedule. Actually, the car behind the schedule hasn't loaded, I think. There it is. So here we are, Red Bull Ring. Basically the same format once again. Same format that we used at Oschersleben. Repeated here, but of course a completely different track. Completely different circumstances, completely different cars that are being favored. And when we remember the strong performance from Alexandre Romand, especially in the Corvette, but also of Andre Santos, it puts them in a very strong position for this race. Take one of the very important top 8 positions in this mini championship here in the shootout.
Of course, Andre Santos, the man who finished second at Oschersleben, was the man who won here, what was it, some 3-4 months ago? That was his only appearance in Season 1 of the GT Masters Esports Championship. And so he's got a 100% winning record here. No longer in the championship, of course, since he came second to... no. What am I thinking about? He came third, didn't he? In Oschersleben, not second. But either way, I think that this is a track that suits him. It suits his style. He loves driving around here. And it would be hard-pressed to find someone with lower odds. If we were betting men, Rob, with lower odds of winning here in the second race.
Maybe Florian Hassel. Maybe he is going to win the race because he needs a miracle performance now. The reigning champion. Had a very successful 2019. He won the A1 Esports tournament. He won Nürburgring Esports Launch opening 2019, as well as, of course, the last season. Both the online multiplayer championship as the final event at the Tuning World Bodensee. One of the most successful drivers on RaceRoom, even though he has never won an online race, interestingly enough. But yeah, he needs a miracle after a very difficult first race, as we have the updated standings, hopefully. Yeah, there they are.
Hey, there you go. So here's how I see it, at least. Over here in England, we have the Premier League in terms of football. And it is said that in order to not get relegated from the Premier League, you need to be scoring about 40 points or so. It's a margin which sometimes it proves true, sometimes not so much. Of course, it depends on the year. But in this situation, we're looking at the top 8 from both of these races in terms of how many points have been scored. They get those guaranteed places going into the full season 2, right? So I'm looking at 8th position. You score 8 points. Let's say that in order to qualify, you need 16 points at the very least. I'm looking at the likes of Santos, Romand and Lerner. I don't think they have to worry so much. They've already scored a podium. They should be okay. But here's the thing. You could non-score in this event and all of a sudden find yourself outside of the top 8 before you know it. So as much as I'm putting up at the point of people should be aiming for 16 points, I'm just going to preface it by saying you never know what could happen here. Even someone like Moritz Lerner could, in theory, fall out of the bottom 8, or out of the top 8 rather, by the end of this race.
Yeah, I think what needs to happen for Lerner is that he gets a penalty to drop out of the top 8. I think one victory should be good enough. Either way, he's looking like a clear favorite. He needs some really precise results from the other drivers to drop out of the top 8. And it's looking very likely for Romand as well now after his great result. But it also means that you can just win a race here at Red Bull Ring. And yeah, you're pretty much guaranteed a spot in the final already.
As I say, I don't think anyone on the podium from race 1 should really have to worry about things too much. Maybe Andre Santos, given that he lands on 16 points exactly. But for everyone else, there's still a lot to be won and lost, most certainly. So we have about 6 minutes left of practice. I guess we could probably go on board with Moritz Lerner and take a little look at the Red Bull Ring in earnest. We have a reborn first corner, I guess, with a brand new name in honour of the late, the great Niki Lauda. Again, I say it's a very simple circuit to learn, so if you've never seen it before, you'll get the hang of it very quickly. But let's take you on a ride on a circuit which in both real life and virtual motorsports, every single time seems to provide a bit of magic. Some of the more modern circuits simply can't do. Into the Niki Lauda curve then. Very difficult turn to figure out because you've got to brake hard, but also try and carry enough pace through there to get a good exit, because here you've got one of the many elongated straightaways which you need for slipstreaming, you need to nail for defending. Up the hill, uphill braking zone, into the tightest corner on the circuit, Remus. Then it's on to yet another straightaway. This is where the DRS zone might be found in other series, of course, these cars without DRS. A shorter run down to turn 3, one of my favourite corners in terms of name in the entirety of sport, Schlussgold, it just rolls off the tongue. And then into the more complicated middle section, you're going round this bend, which isn't technically turn 4, I kind of count it as turn 4. You then go into Roch corner, make sure you don't go out too far, otherwise you hit the gravel, and then into the Wirth curve before flipping out into this right-hander. And then you're just 2 corners away from the end. Turns 8 and turn 9. Rindt, of course, named after the posthumous Formula 1 champion of Austrian nationality. And then Red Bull Mobile, the Mercedes ahead getting it a little bit wrong. And indeed, Moritz Lerner getting it a little bit wrong on exit as well. Very simple, very short, very sweet. But one mistake, Rob, and that could literally be the difference between top 5 and top 15. Such are the margins.
Yes. This is a track that usually provides some of the best racing ever. Seen it in Formula 1. Battle between, I think it was Leclerc and Verstappen. Yep. Super exciting in this corner here. Lerner's just going up the inside, but a little bit less contact than in Formula 1 though.
I was going to say, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself on that incident.
We can't show you the times at the moment because we joined the practice session while it was already running, so now the times are, you know, jumping around a little bit. But what I can tell you is that the fastest driver at the moment is Andre Santos. He's 4 tenths faster than Romain at the moment in the session.
4 tenths? Wow.
It's on a 27.4, and I think it was a 27.2, which he said to take the pole position in the race last season.
I was going to say, I don't think 4 tenths separated even the top 10 in the round of season 1.
This was a track where the gaps were a little bit bigger because the Porsche wasn't so competitive here.
Yes,
because of the long straights.
You're right.
So I think this was one where we had the biggest gaps. And it's interesting to see Klaus Schulze in the Audi also already in the 27. So the Audi definitely a bit faster than the Porsche was back in the last season.
Which means that the people back behind the scenes at RaceRoom Racing Experience are doing their job with balance. And here is the man himself then, Andre Santos, twice third place man in the Mercedes-AMG e-racing competition. Third place in its first season, third place in its last season. And a bit part race winner to add to that, to those accolades as well, Rob. It's, or at least his problem in general, has been stringing together a season to make him step, or to put him on the top step once everything has been said and done.
Yeah, it looked like the Avia competition would be that season, but then Jack Keighley showed up and won both online and the LAN final where Santos was struggling quite a bit. This could be another great opportunity because he showed the pace in the first race, and now it can go only better in the Corvette here.
Let's not jinx fate. He could be spun round at turn 1. Never know. But certainly the opportunity is there. Of course, if you like what you're seeing, then be sure to follow RaceRoom on our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, although you probably would have figured that out anyway.
Yeah, and also make sure to leave a like here. That would be greatly appreciated. And I think the drivers deserve it as well after this first race.
Much more content to come throughout the year as well from a RaceRoom Racing Experience perspective. And please remember, if you have never tried RaceRoom, then it's free to play. So you can download it right now and get stuck in. There's a bunch of DLC and cars which you can further enhance your experience with. But if you fancy just giving it a go, seeing whether you like the feeling of the game, of the simulator, then there's no harm in trying. As I say, it is a free racing experience, a RaceRoom racing experience. I was trying to do a fun tagline there for you, Rob, but unfortunately my brain's not firing on full cylinders today.
Doesn't matter if the brain of the drivers is firing on full cylinders here. They need to be on, on the hunt for the qualifying session, which will start in just 17 seconds. Well, let's have one last look at the standings here. Lerner first in the standings, Romor second, and Santos, Notch, and Stange. Murphy, Heinemann, and Schäfer also qualified for the final at the moment. If it stays like this, if there are no further penalties, and without the results of Red Bull Ring, of course.
Yes. I think the one question mark is going to be hanging over Tim Heinemann for that Florian Hasse contact.
Yeah, but then Hasse also was involved in an incident later on, so I think that might be also investigated.
Wasn't that the one with Pinches, though?
Yeah, I think it was.
Of which Pinches, certainly from my perspective, was at fault in that one. Either way, we can only say so much provisionally here. We're into qualifying for race 2, and it's exactly the same situation with our first race of the evening. 15 minutes on the clock. Once the timer hits 0, that is your lot. And certainly for the Mercedes, such as Adam Pinches, they won't want to be doing too much of that, because in theory they can find themselves with much better potential for much better results to come in the race.
That was already wild from Pinches. Romor is right behind him. Let's see if he actually lets him through. You can see Lerner behind one of the black Mercedes as well. And Jan Stange, of course, ever the tactical driver, he's waiting in the pit lane. He hasn't gone out yet. He will just wait to have a clear track.
I'm trying to look through the list again to find out who was the guy who disconnected last time. So many drivers and so much going on though that it's hard to tell. Anyway, the times, they should be coming in thick and fast. Everyone just getting on their warm-up. Look at the traffic behind though. And this is of course one of the big problems with the Red Bull Ring is, yeah, it's a shorter circuit and everyone's going to be trying to find their own place. Vinny Oliveira, I think, taking the correct idea, Rob, and just waiting a little bit because now he's got a completely free track ahead of him.
Pinches, of course, also in a great position here with all the track for himself. Romor actually has a big gap as well, so that might be a good time from the beginning too for the Frenchman. Let's go on board with Pinches here. In the Mercedes, 20.3 in the first sector. That's solid, but it could go faster for sure.
And all of that in one corner as well, Rob. It's difficult to think that so much time can be gained and lost through one corner, but such is the nature of turn 1.
Mercedes is usually a car that is very oversteery on power. And it's interesting to see here that Pinches is being very careful on the power. This is what caught out Heinemann, for example. But of course, if you want to set a super quick lap time here, in the mid to low 27s, you probably need to be quite aggressive on the power. I don't think this lap will be necessarily in the low 27s. Well, definitely not in the low 27s. I think this will be in the 28s.
It's his banker though, isn't it? Before to go a little bit faster and a little bit more balls to the wall later in the session when there's less to lose.
Final sector was good, so maybe a bit faster than I expected to be. 28.1. So more immediately, 27.9.
A reminder that pole last season at 27.2 from this man, Andrei Santos.
Oh, he abandons his lap.
Who abandons the lap? Was it an illegal cut somewhere?
Yeah, it might have been. But that's another thing that wasn't really a factor at Oschersleben. These are the track limits here. We have the slowdown penalties enabled. So if you run wide, it will invalidate your lap, and that can be a big problem at the Red Bull Ring. This has caught out a lot of drivers before, so remains to be seen. Especially in qualifying, everyone will try as hard as possible. Oh, Hasse in the second sector, 10 seconds back. What has happened there? Very slow time there. Petermann, purple in the first sector.
Audi as well.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of traffic to try and navigate as well. Who can find the best piece of track at the right time. Peterman, I think, going to be held up by this Mercedes ahead, sadly, for the remainder of his lap.
I think this Mercedes is a bit faster than him at the moment. It might be Johannes Weiss.
At the very least, he's going to be picking up dirty air, though, Rob.
Romain still on provisional pole by 4/10.
He's actually improved his time to a 1:27.8.
Yeah. Löhner into P3, still in the 28. Oh, mistake from Petermann. Cost a lot of time.
Currently P11 with a 1:28.8.
Pinches
Come back to
P3.
bite him.
Oh no, it's Schaefer actually
It's
into
Schaefer
P2.
into P2 with a 28.0. Peterman with a 28.7, so he improves by a 10th. I think there's still more to come from the German.
Let's see with Florian Hasse. He needs all the points he can get here.
2 purple sectors is looking pretty nice. Little bit wide through Rindt. Mounts the curb at Red Bull. Let's see what the German can do on this occasion. He crosses the line and he goes P2 at 27.9. Still 6/10 away from last season's pole time, Rob. Though there has been a balance of power, a couple of balance power updates since then, and there's also weight ballast to consider as well.
Yeah, the Corvette is running on 10 kilos of weight ballast, so it should make it a little bit slower here. That's why the 0.4 in practice from Santos, that was, you know, pretty equal to the 0.2 that he did in the previous season. There's been no other updates for the Corvette, so it drives exactly the same, but the track itself has got a tarmac update. It's a little bit more flat. Let's see with Löhner, that could be provisional pole for Löhner. Oh, P2.
Ooh. They're getting closer and closer to Vermont's provisional pole time. But unlike Lerner's provisional pole time from Oschersleben, which was ultimately uncontested throughout the entirety of that qualifying session, I do think we're going to be seeing faster than that 27.8. Here comes Johannes Weiss across the line up to P5 for the German, 28.091.
Yeah, and just wanted to point out that the Mercedeses, even though they were so dominant in the pre-qualifying, Murphy up to P6 meanwhile, in the last race, the best Mercedes finisher was Heinemann in P7 with his broken car.
Yeah.
So they had a pretty disastrous event at Oschersleben.
Mercedes having a tough time in Germany. I don't think I've heard that one before. Across the line comes Hasse, still unable to improve to P1 is Hasse's seat. In fact, it doesn't even beat out Lerner. He's remains in P3. And Vermont's only going faster.
And let's check where Santos is. Santos abandons again. Half of the qualifying session already done. So now Vermont on purple sectors and Vella as well. Ooh, bit of a wiggle. But it's still good.
P12 is better than certainly Oschersleben.
And Vella did not score points in Oschersleben.
That's Murphy, who's just moved up into P7. And yeah, Vella, I'd almost say he needs a podium from this upcoming race to get into the top 8. Completely messes up the final corner as well. Not going to get a podium like that.
Let's see with Romain, is it an improvement? No, he's also abandoning his lap. So lots of people getting track limits here.
Again, 2 purple sectors from Florian Hasse. Can he convert through the third? It was a little bit wide there again. Mounting the curb on the inside of Rindt. That looks a little bit better than the last time that we were with him. He doesn't clout the curb as much through Red Bull Mobile either. I think this could be at least P2. Crosses the line. No, he still doesn't go P2.
That's so surprising because that time from Romain, it's a very good time, but it's not an insane time as we would maybe expect in such a competition. So now no one is in the purple sector. We have time to look at the other drivers. Schaefer, the fastest of the Mercedes drivers, P4. Heinemann hasn't set the time yet.
Coming up now, isn't he? The top 21, separated by a second, is much closer than Season 1's qualifying session, that much is for certain.
And Stange a little bit out of position. Finished 5th in the first race. Now only 12th, but as we know, he's better in the race than he is in the qualifying sessions.
Probably needs just the top 10, honestly, Rob, to secure himself in the top 8 shootout.
That's a purple again. So is Santos. Just checking on Santos' track position. He's further behind than Hasse.
This is coming into traffic.
Yeah, and it's either Scholtesek or Pinches ahead of him. I don't think he will be held up that much. Car gaining a bit loose there. Oh, could be. Yeah, it's track limits.
Santos then. Santos down in P8, Rob.
Yeah, but he just needs to finish a lap. If he finishes the lap, he will be on. Pole. Romain also purple though. Murphy purple as well in the first sector. Ooh.
Bit wide.
Was that
Murphy
still good?
P2.
Nice lap from Murphy once again. And now let's see Santos. I think this lap is legal. That could be pole. Ah, there we
It is
go.
pole. By 1/10 of a second, Andre Santos, with 4.5 minutes left to go, goes into provisional pole position. Now, it's over to you, Alexandre Vroumont. Colour me impressed so far. But are you going to throw on the extra bells and whistles with a bit of shading to make it a beautiful portrait for yourself? A purple middle sector, the Frenchman's flying.
See here in the final corner. Looks good here. Bit of understeer, but pretty decent line. Should not be track limits. There's a lot of curb on the inside, but gets the power down nicely. Also close to the track limits, but I think this time will count. Might it be pole position? Let's see.
Oh, he's taking it back! By less than a 10th this time, but Fromont steals back provisional pole position. A 1:27.632. The gauntlet has been thrown down once again. Your top 3, Fromont, Santos and Murphy, with 3.5 minutes left to run.
That would be Vromont's first pole position in an official race from competition race, not counting reverse grids, of course. Santos still has something to say about that.
It was a poor first sector. It was a purple second sector. A purple third, and we might be talking about provisional pole changing hands once more. Santos across the line improves to within 3 hundredths, I apologise, of Fromont, but still not good enough, Rob.
Not good enough indeed. And we look at a very interesting order here. Vroumont ahead of Santos, so second and third from the first race. And Murphy, who was only 6th. He needs some points. Then Löhner and Hasse in P5. Hasse in P5 in this car, is it really... Can he really be happy with that?
Where did he finish in race 1, Rob?
He finished in 13th.
So he needs a podium, P4 maybe, to help fully secure his chances of securing that top 8. I don't think it's too bad. I think, it could be a lot worse, but you're right. I think that car and that driver's got a lot more in there. Tim Hyman down in P15.
Yeah, all the Mercedes is struggling a lot here. That was not expected. 28.0, the fastest Mercedes. Richard Schäfer. Oh, one of them has just spun off.
Right, Romont's done. Lerner's done as well. As is Weiss and Peter.
Vella up to P10, I think.
That's better.
Oh, Santos. No, it's Hasse actually.
It's Hasse up to P3. That's what we were more expecting. So it's a Corvette 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Stange only P17 and he's done as well. That's the first of our top finishers who's way out of position. Also Notch P13 only. Let's see what Heinemann stays P16. Only one more lap for Heinemann.
Hasse still going. That's a purple sector 1, Rob. P3's good. How nervous is Alexandre Vroumont going to be? Looking at potentially picking up his first ever RaceRoom pole position in official events. Could one of Hasse or Santos steal that away from him?
Ooh. Car gets loose a bit over the curb there. Looks pretty decent from Hasse.
That's a purple second sector.
Murphy.
10th up.
Murphy also purple, but let's stay with Hasse here, because that could be the pole lap. Could be the lap that he needs.
2 more corners to traverse, and it's the corners which he's had the most trouble with. To be fair, the entire field's had the most trouble with these 2 corners. That looks nice. And you know what? That looks even nicer. All goes a little wide, perhaps. Is that the margin between pole and second? We're going to find out in the course of a second. Hasse takes pole! A 27.5! And the Germans taking it at the death. Is there any response from Andre Santos? Their personal best first and second sectors, but they're not purple. He's going to need a mega effort in this final couple of corners. He's gone a little bit wide there on the penultimate. I'd argue he's taking the final corner a hell of a lot better, though. Santos, is it going to be a Germany 1-2? Santos across the line. It is going to be a Germany 1-2, but it's not good enough for pole. It's Hasse from Santos. Vermont denied pole position. Murphy and Lerner round out the top 5 in Audis.
Pinches and Schäfer. Pinches actually fastest Mercedes in 6. Then Weiss in the top 8, in a crucial top 8, ahead of Benedek and Vella. Heinemann P16, Stange P17. And Notch also not in the top 10.
So that is very worrying for those 3 latter drivers. I mean, it could not have gone any better for Hasse, though. He's never won an official RaceRoom esports event.
Yeah, and him and...
or race, at least, anyway.
Well, he's won an event.
Yes, he's won. He's joint champion of this series, for goodness' sake.
Just hasn't won an online race. He won a couple of
Yeah.
races at the event, of course, together with Julian Kunze. And now he's got his teammate behind him as well, and I wonder if they will work together there. The 2 white Corvettes in the front row, that's Hasse and Lerner with Vermont behind, and then even Murphy in the pink Audi for Lazarus Racing.
Furious race ahead of us, that is for certain. With a lot on the line. Who will get into the top 8? By the end of the next 40 minutes, it's Hasse from Santos. And the German front row will go racing now. Off the line. Look at the Mercedes in the middle there, almost pushing the other yellow Mercedes off to the side. I think Hasse has got the strongest start, and he leads into turn 1 from Santos. And Murphy, again, a slower start. Sees him jumped by both Lerner and Schäfer. There's a couple of people round at the back. But apart from that, actually, Rob, pretty clean indeed as we head up towards Remus. Hasse with a decent advantage over Santos. Looks like Murphy's been able to bite back at Schäfer. But Lerner, seemingly the biggest winner. Although up the inside goes Alexandra Vermont, who's defending, I should say, rather. Murphy, this time, is losing out. He completely messed up Remus. He's down to P8.
Yeah, very tight there. Murphy lost out a lot here. Benedek forced his way past on the inside. Oh, Pinches late on the brakes and in the foreground in the white Mercedes. But they all kind of get through here.
Santos down to 4th.
Was it the slowdown penalty already?
It must
Might have been. And now Lerner in 2nd. In the Audi, once again Lerner. Oh, and Weiss versus Pinches. Weiss runs wide.
Horribly. It's going to be an easy position picked up for Schäfer. Just go back up to P6. And this is an awful position for Murphy to be in. He's now behind 3 of the cars with the best top speed. And look at that, down the inside goes Benedek. Forces Murphy off the track. Oh, contact between himself. And I think that's Klaus Schulze involved as well, with Heinemann in there as well. But at the end of lap 1, it is still Hasse who leads from Lerner, Vermont, Santos, Pinches, Schäfer, Weiss, Benedek, Murphy, and Heinemann now into the top 10 past Schulze.
Oh, and Vermont forced himself there through against Santos again. Put Santos a little bit off the track there.
Look
That was
at
a curious
Pinches.
scene.
Pinches on the outside of Santos. Getting a little bit bullied here after what we think was a slowdown penalty. Storming up the inside is Richard Schäfer, though. And Pinches goes so wide that he lets 3 cars through, down to P8.
Not sure what happened there to him. Not sure what happened to Heinemann, who's back down to P14. Behind Hillebrand and Stange now. There's Hillebrand in the black and red Audi. He's on a mission behind his teammate Heiko Kolvenbach, who's late on the brakes there. T3 Motorsport, that's the real GT Masters team that just joined the championship in the 2019 season. That's why we don't have the liveries yet, but they're supporting sim racing as well. Great to see.
Santos.
Oh, Santos, another slowdown for sure.
He's going to be passed by Murphy. Maybe.
Oh, Murphy almost
contact
loses
between
it.
the two. Murphy just about survives that. Look at Klaus Schulze forced onto the higher part of the curb, and that's going to allow Heiko Kolver back into the top 10. Oh, contact between himself and Hillebrand now as well. Schulze has got to be careful.
Johannes Weiss, perfect start for him. Somehow, out of all of this, he came out in P5.
Richard Schaefer, he's made good moves as well. These three Mercedes, actually, in general, Rob, have worked very well together. Moved their way up the top 10. But now we're at the business end of things, and I think they're going to start to turn on each other a little bit. Up the inside, those Adam Pinches now, as well, looking on Benedek. On board with Richard Schaefer, looking back at the silver and black machine on Weiss. Benedek a little further back. Schaefer middle of the road. Into Slosh Gold! And completely missing his braking zone was Benedek. Going to open the door to a potential Adam Pinches overtake once again. I think because of the nature of this circuit, he's gotten enough traction out of Slosh Gold to go on the inside of turn 4. But look at Pinches trying to go around the outside. Not able to do it through roll.
Let's look at the drivers that are out of position here in this race. Stange P14, but even more importantly, David Notch only in P23. So we have got to get the calculator out pretty quickly just to figure out who is going to end up in the top 8 here if it stays like this.
Peterman and Vella also well down the order. It's Aaron.
Yeah, Kramer's in P29, losing the points in the first race.
I think Santos, Kramers, and Posan all came into the pits after that first lap. As Weiss is into P4. That was an overtake we kind of saw coming. Now completed. Will Schaefer be able to make a response? Oh, look at Pinches! Selling the dummy on the inside, and he's muscled his way through to Ballot Benedek, and look at Andre Santos as well after picking up.
Oh, Heinemann has crashed.
Oh, yes, he has. Oh, and he's reversed back into the track as well.
Not sure what else he can do there, but he was standing head on with Heiko Kolvenbach there in the hairpin. And I think that's Heinemann's chances of qualifying almost entirely gone now. Back down in P23, because he only finished P7.
Must be surely. Didn't have to score many points, I don't think, to be able to secure the top 10, but he's got a long, long way up the ladder now. And surely for someone like Heinemann, you've got to be looking at the early pit stop strategy, Rob. It worked for Vromont. It worked for Weiss to a certain extent.
Checking back with the leaders here, Florian Hasse would put him on 28 points, so that's pretty certain that he will qualify. Oh, Weiss! What happened to Weiss?
He's lost his front bumper.
Oh no, that's also Weiss in a terrible position here, because he has to do at least 2 more laps before the pit window opens. Stange goes past.
That might be Weiss's chances over and done with as well. And that had to have been, if not a mistake from his side, it's surely contact with Schaefer.
Scholtusek in the top 10 now. That's crazy. We were expecting a lot of action here at the Red Bull Ring, but we weren't quite expecting this with Heinemann, Weiss and Notch in such deep trouble in this event.
Even Murphy and Klaus Schultz are getting quite close as well. Looking at the two of them, they're swarming over the back of Andre Santos, who surely picked up another slowdown penalty. He's fallen well off the back of the Mercedes.
Stange on the inside of Scholtusek. He has to defend hard against it, because Scholtusek can always catch up again on the straights, and Weiss is just blocking the yellow Mercedes behind him. You can see how nervous all the Mercedes are, how they are twitching. That probably caught him out there. I wouldn't even say it was contact. It was not contact with Heinemann's crash either in the first race.
No, that's true. Well, as the old saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility! And with great responsibility, sometimes you just crack. and that was the case with Martin Barner. I would go as far as to say a suicidal move on the inside of Red Bull Mobile.
Battles continue super hard here. Sabino in yellow, Caserta in black, and Shellstrata, I think, in white. All fighting with each other. But when I think we have to go back to the front because Schaefer and Pinches are also starting to battle now.
Spot. On the inside, it seems Schaefer had the better exit off Remus, but Pinches with later braking is through, and he has stopped that beautifully, Rob, because Schaefer wasn't allowed the opportunity to cut back. Nice move from the Hungarian. He's into P4.
Yeah, and he's getting in this territory where he could make P8. Just trying to figure it out. In the meantime, how the P8 would approximately look if the race finishes like this.
Where did he finish in race 1?
Pinches was 12th only.
So I think he'd be okay in 4th then, honestly. If we're looking at that 16-point margin as a rough estimate.
Yeah, but I think a lot of other drivers are also out of position, so a bit hard to call. Here's Klaus Schulze, for example. He has no points whatsoever. He's now in the top 10.
Murphy there as well. He was P7 in race 1, P8 in race 2. He's going to be on the bubble. Disappointing given how high he qualified as well. The start's really coming back to bite him. And these Audis are in a tough position, aren't they, Rob? Because they've got cars ahead of them, all with better straight line speeds. Their victories are surely going to come in the race strategy.
Santos trying to get back here, back up the order, and Jan Stange kind of has a clear gap now behind these cars as well. He's back in the top 10. Weiss actually gone past Sabino with this broken car. It's very interesting, and Weiss will come into the pits surely in this lap, as we have Schulze and Murphy battling super hard against each other once again.
Weiss has nothing to lose. Get that front bumper on again. Change 2 tyres. And pray. Pray that others ahead of you have trouble. Already we can start to see, Rob, a real gapping. Not just between the top 3, but 3rd and 5th as well. The pit lane windows open and immediately people were in.
I think Schaefer's no, Schaefer's still out. Definitely Weiss is in the pits. Benedek as well.
Curious to see Santos in so early as well.
Yeah, I think he doesn't want to be stuck in traffic. That's his main reason for taking this decision. Just did the calculation before the pit entry, and we would have Lerner leading the championship ahead of Romain. Then it would be Santos in 3rd, and then it would be Hasse in 3rd, Santos in 4th, and then also qualified, at least according to my calculations, would have been Schaefer, Murphy, Pinches, and Stange.
Still a long race yet though, Rob. Still 28 minutes even left.
Santos came out of the pits behind Benedek.
He must have changed all 4 tyres.
And Weiss has a terrible pit stop time here.
That was all 4 tyres as well, surely.
And was of course repairing damage as well.
So he's gone for the full makeover. Curious decision, Santos, to change all 4 tyres. Or was it all 4? Wasn't he behind Benedek going into the pits? Because it was the 3 Mercedes and then Santos.
Yeah. He didn't gain anything from his early stop though. He's still in the same sort of traffic.
Yeah.
Schaefer behind Schulze now. Might be pit entry, notched late into the pits. Be very careful there. You're allowed to cross the line here on RaceRoom, at least on the entry, but you have to watch out that you don't go into the grass. Yeah, Schaefer in the pits as well. So lots of early pit stops in this race. I'm not sure if that worked out in the first race, to be honest, because we saw Petermann with the super late pit stop, and for him, it was an excellent strategy.
Lerner pitted about halfway, didn't he? He pitted about halfway, and changed all 4 tyres. If you're in the midfield, you've got nothing to lose.
And Schaefer has changed all 4 tires again. Because he is behind Benedek and Santos. I'm not sure which car that is that he... I think it's the lap car, must be Posan who had an accident.
Yes, ended up some 6 seconds behind Santos actually.
Shout out to Lai Sabino who's running in 8th.
He's avoided all the trouble, hasn't he? And by doing so, he's put himself in with a good chance of at least scoring a point. Strong competition here though with the likes of Hillebrand as well. And the recovering Tim Heinemann this week. Pinches. And Vermont.
Both in the pits.
So Vermont pulling the trigger. He was third, of course. Oh my word! Oh my word! No love lost between these compatriots. Goodness me, Hungaro eating your heart out, and Heinemann still gets the move done. Oh, contact on re-entry from Nicholas Hillebrand. It's almost like he doesn't like him. Up towards Rebus we go. If Heinemann completes the move, I think that is very fair play indeed. He's not done anything wrong, and that's just rude from Nicholas Hillebrand. I'm glad that Heinemann survived that, honestly.
I think what happened there is that Heinemann pushed Hillebrand into a slowdown. And that's why he was so angry. But of course that behavior, a revenge move, not tolerable at all. So he can definitely face a penalty after this race.
Again, Tim Heinemann did nothing wrong. He made a good move after being squeezed into the wall. Ah, dearie me. Naughty boys. Naughty boys. Where have Vermont and Pinches exited? They've both come out ahead of, get this, Andre Santos, who has overtaken Balint Benedek since we were last with them.
Maybe we should focus on them a little bit now. Schulze and Murphy still battling at the front of the field, like in the beginning, while Hasse has just cleared off into the distance. Looking very good for him qualifying here for the final event.
So Vermont's taken the same strategy that he did in race 1, hasn't he? Because he's only changed 2 tyres, but he's hoping to get the undercut on the front 2. And keep in mind as well, Rob, yes, Vermont was top 10 in race 1, but he ended up P2 by the end of the race. So coming in from the podium, he's manoeuvred himself into a very handy position given that he keeps his pace up.
Oh, Santos aggressive. Way off the circuit.
Come back. That's the old A1 ring. Come back. And he's undone all of his hard work.
Lost out to Benedek.
Yeah.
Benedek might take Pinches here around the outside.
This is Pinches on Benedek. Oh no, you're right. No, it is Benedek on Pinches. You're right.
I guess Pinches was a bit scared there when he saw Santos flying up the inside. Santos, of course, didn't hit him. Just opened the throttle, but yeah, that didn't work out at all for him.
Ladies on Mercedes down towards Schloss Gold. Pinches with the inside line. We've seen him defend into him very nicely indeed. We've seen him overtake nicely indeed. And he remains in... I'm not going to say where he is net, but he's at least P13.
Taking a look at our sole Porsche on the grid, Vinny Oliveira, fighting against Shell Strata with this very interestingly shaped Mercedes there. Oh, and I think Löhner is in the pits. Löhner is in the pits, and Heinemann is battling with Sabino.
Not the company he was expecting, Tim Heinemann, I imagine.
No, but he's fighting his way back up into the points. So it will be interesting to, to keep track of him, keep track of his position throughout the race, because a lot of other contenders around him, like Weiss, like Petermann, they also don't have the best races, like Notch as well.
Vermont's jumped Löhner.
Oh yeah, Löhner probably going for the 4-tire change again.
Most certainly going for the 4-tire change.
Yeah, because he's behind Santos and Benedek. That's Schaefer, who's on the same strategy, but it was a long pit stop, regardless, because Schaefer is really close now, coming out of the pits.
It worked at Oschersleben. I question the mentality here, Rob, given that that's arguably the slowest car in the field today. Maybe barring the Porsche.
We will see if it works out. Hasse has a 15-second lead now over Murphy. I'm not sure how it got so big.
Pure pace, Rob. That top three really did run away in the opening stint. And Murphy was hardly in that chasing pack behind before the pit stop phase, at least.
Heinemann into the pits.
That was Spino just to move on round without the threat of the German. I think Haas is going to run this set of tyres as far as it can go.
Yeah, we've seen him do that very often in the previous season, but he's very late to pit. He certainly can work. Heinemann, I think. That was weird. This car just popped up as if it was going again. Now in the pits, and probably going to get jumped by Löhner and Santos as well.
Where is Heinemann on exit? Still not coming through, actually. Could be overtaken. He is overtaken by Scholziek as well. Here comes David Noj, and Heinemann is
out
there.
in front. That's interesting because they are battling with each other for this crucial P8 spot in the championship. We just have to wait and see until the pit stops are done, until we can draw a clearer picture here.
Both of them might be back up at some points, actually, after those early pit stops. Because I'm looking at the likes of Siren and Kleitz and Courtois as well. And Oliveira bashes his way past Schellsteiter. Poor old Johannes Weiss. That long pit stop hasn't helped him, Rob. Schellsteiter losing out to Marcelo Carceta as well.
Yeah, Carceta with the strong performance again. He was in the points last time. He was the guy who got the single point in the first race. To see him here in a hard battle with Schellsteiter, and Schulze and Murphy still showing no signs of coming into the pits and still battling hard here. For Murphy it's looking very good. For Schulze, not so sure. Depends where he comes out after the pit stops. I think it could make sense for him as well to go for a 2-tire change.
Difficult to I think by going this long, Rob, they've committed to the later pit stop. I don't. The two-tire pit stop for Audi's has been pretty rare so far today.
Well, Stange made it work in the first race, but he was pretty much the only one who used it. I think Stange's pace was really good after the pit stop. So, given that Schulze and Stange are both teammates in the Impact Racing team, I think it's quite likely that they will run the same strategy here. Petermann trying to look on the inside of Selstrate.
Murphy and Schulze just exchange positions.
Yeah, Schulze in the pits now.
Schulze in, yeah. Which is, I think, that's smart. He's going for the undercut on Murphy ahead.
That's not very beautiful there.
There was no collision in the pit lane, so that's the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, you could exactly see why we have set this to no collisions, because otherwise he would have been held up by a car that he has nothing to do with. So that would have been very unfair, of course.
Where was Schulze? Back in. He's
still,
already done.
He's already going again.
So that's a 2-tire stop, certainly.
I think he will still go behind Benedek and Santos, although that might be quite close.
Well, it's going to be close with him, isn't it? Look at this on exit.
Oh, Santos!
Oh, and he is round fully, and he takes out Benedek. Or is it Schaefer for good measure? And Santos is round in the grass. Back on the track he goes. He's too impatient. Is this Tim Heinemann going to overtake him?
Yeah, this Heinemann.
Oh my goodness me, Heinemann overtakes Santos. And he's going to be so thankful that he picked up 16 points in race number 1. Because he might need them.
He might need them indeed, because now down to P16. With a car on, with the early pit stop, we'll have very bad tires. 2-tire stop. That's not looking good for Andre Santos. Klaus Schulze, on the other hand, he came out ahead of Löhner.
9 inches, so that's... So once again, actually, Rob, the early stop for Vermont paying off at least short term.
Yeah,
Got 5 seconds on pinches.
I think Romain really knows how to drive his car with these with 2 tires changed. I think this is the key difference between him and someone like Santos in the race. On the pure pace, Santos might even be faster, but Romain is just so good on this with his changed balance that he's actually a contender for the victory here, depending on what Florian Hasse does.
That's Lay Sabino in that Clates in as well. 5 remain who have not pitted, rather, in the top 5.
So Mercedes getting lapped there. It's not Schulze battling with someone, it's just a lapped car. Claes and Sabino coming out right next to each other, and also in the big battle pack here around Martin Petermann.
It was quite feisty down there, isn't it? Goodness me, 7 cars? All covered by 2 seconds or so? The irony, of course, Rob, is none of them are fighting for points.
Yeah, it could be fighting for points when Ziren and Bahn up it, but you know, they might come out in the same area, actually, or even ahead. And Arvella also way out of position. Doesn't quite work for him here.
I think Hasser's got a grip on Vermont. I think he's going to pit and he's going to retake the lead.
Ooh, Vella.
Between Murphy and Vermont's going to be interesting, though, because look, between...
I think Vermont will be way ahead of Murphy, actually. Yeah. Vermont will be way ahead of him.
20 seconds between the two, isn't there? So
because
yeah.
Murphy was close to Schulze, so I think Murphy will come out in the area where Schulze and Pinches are. Schulze actually quicker than Murphy in race pace here.
Depends if Murphy goes for the 2 tire stop as well.
Yeah. Schulze the second fastest car on track. Not sure if that's his last lap or if it's before the pit stop, but 28.3. Only Hasse has gone quicker than him.
They seem a lot more comfortable getting down on the power run. And so, in theory, by changing the 2 tyres on the front, you've got that better grip without necessarily compromising your overall race time. Because you don't have to change the rear tyres. Clearly the balance is still fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's going a bit faster than Pinches as well at the moment. Hasse's in the pits.
Hasse in. Or will Murphy join him? Doesn't look like it, honestly. No, Murphy goes through to take the lead of the race. Here goes Stanger. And Robin Siren, I think, won't be factoring in too much. Florian Hasse to come out in P3. Here he comes now. Robin Siren isn't going to pit, actually. There he is in the background.
Yeah, and he's out way ahead of Romain.
10 seconds ahead of Romain. That's a sizable gap. He is doing everything in his power, Rob, to qualify for that top 10. And to do it by winning his first online race in an official RaceRoom Esports competition, that'd be a pretty good way to do it.
That would be in style. I'm a little bit confused why Romain is so far back compared to Hasse. Was he actually doing a 4-tire swap? Or was he just really slow when...
I think he's starting to struggle. He did do a 2-tire stop, but it's just the pace from Hasse has been too good.
Oh, and look at this, Santos versus Heinemann.
Both these drivers and Noj recovering. Noj, who finished P4, may I remind you, in race 1. I was here saying he probably only really needs P13 to qualify, as Murphy finally comes in for his pit stop as well. As things stand, Naj might only get P13 out of this race, actually. Stanger in as well.
Yeah, I think they will all jump Ziren. But that's about it. Let's see here. We have to watch Pinches now, probably, to see if Murphy will change 2 tires or 4 tires here. If he changes 4 tires, he would definitely be behind Pinches and Schulze.
Murphy's out again.
Ah, so that's only 2 tires then. Oh, but it could be close.
Tires.
Pinches is through, and I think Schulze is through as well. Yes, indeed. So he lost the position here with the strategy.
Yeah.
This comes out ahead of Lerner, who's making no progress at all with his 4-tire change.
Tire stop. The undercut pays off for Schulze. Lerner, of course, yeah, he's not made that ground, has he? I think he's chosen the wrong strategy, and Schulze and Murphy have nailed it.
Doesn't really matter for Lerner though, because he will definitely qualify with this result. This is interesting though, because these are two drivers that have run into each other a few times in the past. And Santos could probably deny Heinemann a place on the grid here for the final. Because it could be, with this position for Heinemann, it will be really, really close. It might be enough actually.
So he finished, what, 7th in race 1?
He finished 7th, he got 9 points for that.
Points. So I would say he needs another 7. Which would be, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he needs to be 9. I don't think this is enough. I don't think this is anywhere near enough for Heinemann.
We will see. I think they will all jump Zieren eventually.
That's only one position.
Yeah.
And you've got to look, Stanger's another 5 seconds up the road.
Yeah. Zieren is in the pits now.
Take.
Stanger and Scholtusek. Scholtusek a bit of a surprise here in this race. How competitive he is. Mixing it with a 3-time RaceRoom competition race winner, Jan Stange, and ahead of Heinemann and Santos. And Notch, of course.
And now we have our net order. Husser leads by 11 seconds. Alexander Romont, the Mercedes on the podium, finally. Adam Pinches there. Schulze and Murphy round out the top 5 with Lerner, Schaefer, Benedict Stanger, and the aforementioned Scholtesek rounding out the top 10. Sheeran comes back out in P16. And so now, with 10 minutes left for Rob, we have a better idea of who is probably going to be qualifying and who still has a little bit left to do.
Oh, Stange's been passed here by Scholtusek. Stange's struggling here. I think that's a slowdown penalty for Stange.
Let's see. I think it's clear to say Husser, Vermont, and Pinches.
Oh, Pinches been passed by Schulze though. Look at Schulze. Schulze could qualify as well for the final.
And look at Murphy. Look at Murphy. He's keeping touch as well. So where did Schulze finish in race 1? I forgot.
He was out of the points. He got.
Oh! Pinches isn't giving this up. He knows that he's got to score a good amount of points as well, and he's back through into P3. Bold, brave, boisterous, but it worked. And now that's brought Murphy right in as well.
I think Schulze needs the P3 here if he wants to qualify. Needs
Agreed.
a P3 or needs to have some help from the penalties.
Again, 16 points is a rough estimate. Well, you get 16 points if you finish 3rd. Murphy doing his chances no harm. Pinches, he finished in the points, didn't he, in race 1?
Yeah, Pinches would have 20 points if he finishes like this.
Yeah, he'd be fine. Even if he dropped to P4, I'd say he'd be fine.
Murphy would be on 21.
Lerner, of course, won race 1, so even finishing down in P6 is good. Going to be close with Schaefer and Benedek as well.
Schaefer would be on 17 points if he stays ahead of Benedek.
Cutting it close. What about Benedek?
He would be on 13 at the moment.
So he needs to probably do a little bit more.
Yeah. Stange, of course, would be on 17.
With P10.
Yeah, Heinemann would be on 14. And Santos?
Santos would be on 20.
He would get 4 points for it, he would be on 20, so yeah.
He's fine, he's fine. I thought he was fine going into this race anyway. It was going to be close, dependent on if there were some really interesting results with people who weren't scoring points in race 1 getting big points in race 2. But I honestly, he just needed... Naj? What happened to Naj? Did Santos just overtake him?
Yeah, Santos has been...
Also,
I
Naj
think
going for a move.
Santos dropped back.
Yeah.
Another mistake from Santos. Let's see, Naj, I actually haven't calculated him. So he would get 3 points. That would be 16.
Oh, he could very well be on the cusp, David Naj. No wonder he's fighting so hard for this P12. It could be 1 point that sees him into the top 8.
Yeah, at the moment he would be in with 16 points. Heinemann has 14, Schulze has 13, and Benedek has 13 as well. But that can change by the minute, because look at this here. Klaus Schulze on the brink of getting a podium. And then also Stange now has been passed by Scholtusek. These two are battling as well. Stange on the outside here, that could drop Stange out of it.
Keep in mind, Tim Heinemann's only a second and a half behind Stange now as well.
Yeah.
Oh, what a cutback! Not able
Enough
to do
power
much.
there.
Oh, flash of the lights. He's not happy. I think that was the racing line taken by Scholtusek, though. Got in a bit of trouble in race 1. I think he was okay there. And Tim Heinemann's right with them now.
Yeah, Stange needs to watch out with the track limits as well. It's been very close a few times there to getting a slowdown penalty. Maybe he has one now. Just showing himself in the mirror.
Or is he just trying to cover off Heinemann? Maybe both. See how the Mercedes, of course, the Audi ahead is getting a bit of slipstream, but you can see the straight line speed of the Mercedes is a little bit better. And a bit of a, that's the slippiest I've seen an Audi through Remus today, but he gets away with it. Immediately on the defensive here is Jan Stange. These two have had many a battle through RaceRoom competitions over the, what's it, 2-3 years that I've at least watched them. Always been entertaining.
Yeah, there's also no, you have that with a lot of drivers with Heinemann, but I think there's no real disrespect between these two. So, should see a very exciting battle here until the end. Same can be said for Schulze, Murphy, Pinches, and Lerner.
So tightly packed in these 4, goodness me. Crazy to think that 3 of them are Audis as well, Rob. We were expecting this to be maybe 1 Audi and 3 Mercedes.
Yeah, of course, they always have the slipstream here. And I think
Heinemann's
Heinemann
got him.
Yeah.
Oh, but he looks super dodgy on exit though. And Murphy, there's been a problem over turn 1. Lerner's into P3.
Schulze has dropped back.
And there must have been contact. There must have been contact because Murphy's into 4th, Pinch is 5th, and Schulze all the way down to P6.
Schulze coming back at Pinches here. Fortunately, we missed that. These results, Heinemann would be back qualified, I think. Schulze goes back past Pinches. Now Pinches has to worry, of course. Because he did only score 4 points in the first race.
I don't think this would be enough.
Oh, Stange! On the inside
Back
against
through?
Heinemann and through.
What a forceful move. Unstanger, like, oh, contact! Well, if there was no disrespect before, they're throwing shades at each other now. On the cutback goes Tim Heinemann, bunches him off the circuit. Oh, that was just about within the rules. If not just a little bit over them.
Yeah, I think it was out of track limits for Stange as well. Once again, Heinemann pushing a car out of track limits. I think even if he qualifies here on the road, he pretty much has to talk his way out at the stewards here if he wants to get qualified for this event.
We forget the Hasser incident at the start of race 1, Rob. And Pinches is back through on Schulze, blow for blow.
Oh,
and he's lost it! He's lost it! Adam Pinches has broken at the worst possible moment. 3.5 minutes left. P8 back on the track, but it could be a lot worse because here comes the gaggle of P9 all the way down to P14.
Santos and Nausch have caught up as well. They're all in the running here for the spots. Let's see who comes out on top here. Just a brief message at the front of the field. Florian Hasser still leading the race ahead of Romain, Lerner and Murphy. And Schulze, Schäfer and Benedek in a close battle. And then a crazy battle with Pinches, Scholtusek, Heinemann, Stange, Santos and Notch.
What a crazy end to this race. And knowing that only the top 8 from these 2 races in terms of points scored can qualify. Oh, Heinemann up the inside and that's contact and round she goes. Almost, what a save from Scholtusek, but yet another potentially rule-breaking, rule-bending move from Tim Heinemann. It is not hard to see why people dislike him. This isn't him at his worst by no stretch of the imagination. But it's not him at his best either.
Oh, Santos around the outside of Stange. That was a brilliant move.
Lovely. Nicely done. Again, Santos should be safe regardless. Just over a minute and a half left. So once Florian Hasse crosses the line for the next rotation of this Red Bull Ring circuit, this probably should be the last lap that we'll be talking about. But as so often is the case, question marks over the finality of the results. And not for the first time, it's Tim Heinemann very deep at the root of those discussions. What about David Noj? Still with work to do. And on to his final lap, Florian Hasse, looking towards his first online race win in RaceRoom Esports competitions. And what a win it would be as well, over 10 seconds clear of Romont. Alpha P3 is not over though. Look at this. Moritz Lerner, who changed all 4 tyres, still under pressure from Eamon Murphy.
Oh, and now here it goes. Santos versus Heinemann.
Just for pride more than anything. But it should be a move sewn up before turn 1.
Heinemann lets him go.
Yep. No surprise there. Lost the car.
Oh, notch in the background. I think he hits Scholtisek a little bit. Slow down for Heinemann, I think. Yes, slowdown penalty indeed for Heinemann. Back down to P11.
And that might actually not see him qualify regardless of what results turn out to be.
Oh, we will. You definitely. Oh, he's not done with the slowdown. He's out of fuel.
I think that might be it for Tim Heinemann.
Game over.
Back up to the front though. It's not the German that we were expecting necessarily to dominate proceedings, but dominate he has at the Red Bull Ring. It's a Corvette that wins once again here in Season 2, but it's Florian Hasse who scores 25 points to qualify himself for the full Season 2 experience. His first online race win in RaceRoom Esports competition, Romont, with a second P2 in a row. Lerner hits the podium once again with P3 this time. Eamon Murphy qualifying himself in P4. Schultz a 5th, with Schaefer and Benedek, the 2 Mercedes behind. Pinch is 8th, with Andre Santos coming home P9, Jan Stange P10, with Scholtisek, Naj, Barner, Hillebrand, and Peterman rounding out to your points scorers. Rob, it's time to do some maths.
Yes, indeed. But first of all, congratulations to Florian Hasse. Such a fantastic drive here. Completely unchallenged. Completely deserved victory here. Finally his first online race win. And that's in style. And after a difficult Oschersleben race, that certainly secures him a position on the grid, on the full season grid for the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship.
I think it's fair to say those podium sitters and Murphy definitely through. Santos qualified as well. But that's 5 already, Rob. But it's going to be close between the chasing pack. Schaefer, Schulze were close. Pinches, Noj, who finished P12, going to finish on 17 points overall.
Yeah, we will be right back then after we see the results with the confirmation and with the calculations as well. Fastest lap, Johannes Weiss. Such a shame for him that he was in the wall early on. That really cost him the chance to qualify. Yeah, here are the confirmations of the provisional, of course, race results, and what a drama for Heinemann in the end. Not sure if it was a slowdown or fuel issue. Definitely out of the points in the end. No chance to qualify for the full season, and a super surprising event here. Definitely not what we were expecting to see. You can see Heinemann out, Weiss out, and Posan out as well as Kolvenbach, who collided with Heinemann earlier on in the race.
Oh, so what's the plan here, Rob? Are we going to take a break, or do we think we're doing the maths?
We're just going to go shortly to the commercials, and then when we're back, we'll take a moment, but then we certainly have the provisional standings of this championship, so we'll be back in approximately 5 minutes.
KW, für jeden Anspruch das richtige Fahrwerk.
All right, so welcome back. We still need a little bit more time just to figure out the ins and outs of the championship, but let's reflect on what has been an awesome day at racing, both at Oschersleben and the Red Bull Ring. Both exciting races, Rob, but both for very different reasons. We had, of course, the masterclasses in strategy at Oschersleben, and we had the Naughty Boys Club coming out in force at the Red Bull Ring to whip up results even more so than we were originally expecting, with the Mercedes arguably underperforming.
The performance of the Mercedes certainly was a pretty big surprise for everyone here, because everyone was kind of expecting it, even with the 45 kilos, to do a little bit better. People were saying, oh, is it even enough? And yeah, it certainly was enough, maybe even more than enough when we look at the performances of the Mercedes drivers here in the race. It was a bit of a surprise for sure. Yeah, and what we can already say for sure, also the driver with the most points in the whole event, that was Moritz Löhner. So an Audi driver.
Yeah. But a shout, I mean, I was gonna move on to a driver of the day discussion. But for me, at least, I'm not sure about you, Rob, there's only one person in that discussion, and that would be Alexandre Vermont.
Yeah, the one driver that we don't have a driver info card of, who did really well. Definitely finished in second place overall. It can also be confirmed by now. We're just trying to look at the tiebreakers here, because we've got a couple of drivers finishing at the at the same point, so...
It
once we're
really
doing
is that close, so we're looking at best results
Yeah, but
achieved today.
it's actually not for P8 and 9 though, there's a pretty clear gap. So we will have it in just a moment time.
Of course, to all of you, we remind you that we're all across social media, so find us at RaceRoom. Be sure to drop a like on this live stream if you enjoyed it. And I believe, are these the final standings, Mr. Wiesenmüller?
Yes, these are the final provisional standings. The ADAC GT Masters Esports Shootout. So we have Moritz Löhner in first place, but Alexandre Vromont in second, the SDL driver with a fantastic performance here today. Second twice. Then Florian Hasse and Andre Santos, the two Euronics Gaming drivers. Eamon Murphy from Lazarus Racing qualified for the season with a fantastic performance in P5. And Richard Schäfer. And just making it in on 17 points are David Notch and Jan Stange, beating out Benedek, Pinches, Schulze and Heinemann here.
Rob, I wasn't too far away with my prediction of 16 points. 1 point's difference. But ultimately, there was quite a big gap between Stanger and Benedek there. 3 points. It may not seem like much, but over the course of 2 races, yeah, there's definitely daylight between the two. Who am I disappointed to see out? I mean, Pinches, Schulze, Weiss on different days, things could have been better.
Heinemann could have, everyone expected Heinemann to be 100% certain in. So that's the biggest surprise, I would say. Also had Weiss on my list as well as Pinches. But Schulze showed at Red Bull Ring that he could have done it. And I think he would have done it as well if he hadn't been in this incident with Pinches and... who was it? With Pinches and Hasse at Oschersleben. Yes. So, yeah, shame for him that he's out there. But, both Schulze and Pinches were both in a position in this race where they could have scored enough points that they get in. Also, Benedek was fighting with Schäfer the whole time. So, I mean, it wouldn't have helped him if he would have passed him. Still wouldn't have been enough. But, there were a couple of drivers really close. And for Notch, it was a scare because he was really helped by Heinemann dropping out of the race at the end. By a couple of mistakes from drivers like Weiss that he got into the positions. Of course, they are still provisional. Drivers can send incident reports until tomorrow. So tomorrow in the evening we will have the official results of this for sure. And then everything is fair. Of course, we read the comments as well that people say there should be stewards. Of course, there are stewards, but can't do that at the same time, unfortunately, as streaming your races and calculating these points. So that will be done
resources
by tomorrow. And yeah, let's maybe take a look at the schedule once again to see what is coming up in the few. Oh, that's the schedule for today, of course. That's already done. That's the correct one here.
Further forward. There we go. So all 4 of these events coming up now, rounds 2 to 5. They're all live events, aren't they, Rob? So our online work has been done.
Yes, that's also a goodbye from both of us for the rest of the season, as our German colleagues will take over. Thomas Bienert will be the lead commentator of the season. We will have all the streams in German, at least from the live events. Of course, if there's an audience on site, that makes a bit more sense as well in that sense. But yeah, so we certainly left them with 8 interesting drivers for the season.
And we hope that you continue interest through social medias. Of course, a lot more coming from RaceRoom until the end of the year, so be sure to check out those social channels. But do keep an eye on Season 2 of the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship. It's sure to be as exciting as Season 1 was. But I think it is now time to wrap up. A big thank you to every single one of you who joined in, whether you were here from the beginning, came in halfway through, or if you've just joined in the last few minutes. We much appreciate your company and your support. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed what you saw. Hopefully we did our jobs correctly. He was Robert Wiesenmüller. I was James Kirk. And from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.